Sanctuary of the Mechas. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 76 New Mission. Monday morning was sunny and bright, marking the beginning of the scorching summer heat. After completing the forest survey mission, I resumed my academy life. The mission's results were quite impressive. All 30 returned safely, completing the mission and retrieving 8 missing individuals. We were commended, and the journey was truly worthwhile. With the mission over, I headed to academy as usual. Now a third-year student, I wore a short-sleeved summer outfit. Arriving in class that morning, I was immediately greeted by familiar faces. One of them, Lin Qin, now class president, had grown his hair longer, no longer the short-cropped style he once wore. Another, a redhead, looked the same as a year ago. Then there was Li Shuhua, my classmate who sat near me. Her appearance hadn't changed much, but her understanding of mechas had improved significantly over the past year. And then there was Xingze Uhua, my sister's good friend, whom I frequently visited. Long time no see. I haven't been here for a while. How's your studies going? Xingze Uhua asked. Yes, is things okay? Shuhua, who was nearby, also responded. I haven't considered that aspect for now, I replied. Honestly, my grades have always been average. I'm not someone who can skip classes for a month, and I don't have any concerns about my future, but now that I have a driver's license, I'm fine with staying here. You don't think that just getting an elite license will be enough, do you? Another girl, Lin Qin, also heard about this topic. That's probably true, I said. Lin Qin shook her head and said, you're such an unmotivated person. It's rare to have such talent. Even if that's the case, it's not a bad thing. Just passing is good, isn't it? Jiuho replied. Yes, I don't have the right to say anything about you right now, Lin Qin stated. She was still at the senior level and had made great progress over the past year. She was probably now very close to elite level. Squad leader, you're actually quite capable. You'll definitely have the time to prove it, I said. Yes, dear squad leader, Diaribo, not far away, echoed the sentiment. A moment later, the bell rang, and we began our classes. The day's classes continued as usual, until noon. At that point, someone from the academy's upper echelon summoned me, apparently to ask questions about recent events. I was summoned to the conference room on the upper floor of the academy. Based on my experience over the past year, the conference room is generally where missions are discussed. It has a large computer system filled with information. It's said that intelligence agencies across the country are connected to it, so there are many missions related to mechas. I've already received several of these. At elite level, I've received special privileges, allowing me to leave the academy for extended periods of time to carry out missions, though this varies depending on individual circumstances. Student Xingze, regarding the recent emergency, some special situations have occurred in the 16th to 18th areas of the South District. We would like to discuss this with you, a middle-aged man wearing glasses said. The 16th to 18th areas are indeed known as the Water City. What happened there? I asked in reply. Yes, the Water City is an extremely popular place in the summer like this. However, recently, a mysterious creature appeared in the waters of that area. Because it is in the water. The local people call it a sea monster. Sea monster? What is that? It looks a bit like an octopus, with thick and black skin and a very large body. Many people have been attacked by it recently, and some cruise ships have been overturned. Therefore, sailing in the nearby waters has been banned. Fortunately, with the help of the deep sea forces, not many casualties were caused. Considering the situation in the middle of summer, we still have to resolve this matter as soon as possible, so I would like to ask you for help, okay, is that so? I understand the situation, then do you want to accept this task? I accept, I responded. The staff member then handed me a document. It was a great place I'd wanted to visit, and now the opportunity had arrived. Please read the information about that sea monster. It's indeed very formidable. Even the nearby deep-sea forces haven't been able to deal with it. It's said to be extremely mysterious and swift, is that so? I'll analyze the details. No problem, that's alright then. I'll also consider 1 or 2 outstanding mech users from the academy to accompany you to that location, I replied. In that case, how about asking our class monitor? She's an ocean-type mech user specializing in water. Really? I'll seriously consider her. With that, I headed out the door. Then, the day's classes ended unnoticed, and after school, Shuho and I walked home together. On the way, I briefly discussed the upcoming mission with her. So, brother's going on another long trip? Shuho asked. Still to New Century City, the place known as the Water City. It's a very popular place in the summer. Has the departure time been decided? Almost. I heard that because it's summer, the issue is very urgent. I'm afraid there will be a conclusion tomorrow. Really? That's pretty soon. Brother just got back. I'd like to go too if possible, Shuho said. That depends on the arrangements made by the higher-ups at the academy. I don't think it's likely. As we walked back home, we opened the door. Lan Yu had already returned. Lately, due to the change in school hours, Lan Yu had occasionally been home earlier than us. Are you back? Lan Yu asked, seemingly heading towards the kitchen. Yes, Shuho agreed. We nodded and went inside. We then prepared dinner and soon sat down at the table. I also spoke to my two younger sisters about the mission. Really? You're going out again, fresh off your return? You're so busy, Lan Yu said to me. It's an urgent mission. If we don't complete it quickly, it might impact the citizens there, so when do we leave? How long does the mission take? Lan Yu asked. Probably tomorrow, but I'm not sure. I'm afraid it'll take about a week. The location is the 16th to 18th Water City area, Shuho said, giving the coordinates for me. Water City is definitely a bustling place at this time of year. Brother, you wouldn't go there alone, would you? Lan Yu said. How could that be? The mission is important, I replied. Really? Never mind. I'd love to go there, but I've been busy lately and don't have the time, Lan Yu said. Is it the same for you, sister? Shuho asked. What a shame, Lan Yu nodded in agreement. That's life, so unpredictable, I said helplessly. We finished dinner in this state. After finishing our work, we settled on the sofa. What's going on with my sister? Shuho asked. At the request of a teacher at the academy. I'm going to participate in some training that has something to do with the original spirit. Is it a class assessment? I asked. How could that be? I'm not interested in that. It's just pure training, like a summer group training. Is that so? The three of us at home each had our own things to do, and it looked like they'd be very busy lately. I silently waited for the situation to develop, and then, as night fell, I received an email notification from the academy. From the content of the notification, I could confirm that my mission would begin tomorrow. Chapter 77 Heading to the Water City. The next morning, I arrived at the previous meeting room, just as we were about to depart for the mission. Besides me, the student, there were two other people on the mission. I knew both of them, a man and a woman, Lin Qin from our class, and Qin Liang. I wasn't surprised, it was a perfectly reasonable outcome. Then the mission to Water City begins. Get ready to depart. I wish you all safety and success, the superior said. We nodded in response. Yes, we then left the meeting room and headed outside the academy. As the three of us reached the academy gate, one of the women, Lin Qin, said, It's truly remarkable that I'm on this mission. Let's do our best. That's true, but it's also incredible that the three of us are all here together, Qin Liang said. Let's go, I said. We then walked along the Mecha tunnel next to the academy. We had noted down our reservations, calling for a ride in a Mecha to the Water City area. Although Water City is located within the New Century City, it's still quite far from where we are now, given its vast size. Regarding this mission, I read the relevant information yesterday. The creature known as the sea monster is completely black. According to the information, it seems to have many puzzling strange abilities. It has appeared 3 times in various sea areas of the Water City, Qin Liang said. Well, I've also read it. From the introduction, I can't grasp its specific abilities. The sea area of the Water City is very vast. I'm afraid our mission will not be that simple, Lin Qin said. Regarding the 16th to 18th areas, their locations happen to be near the sea. The 18th area is a small island, separated by a section of sea area. That's right. It might be better for us to divide the work and search when the time comes, I suggested. Xingze makes sense. The 16th and 17th areas of the 3 areas are connected, and the 18th area belongs to the island, Qin Liang seemed to agree. In other words, we can go to one area separately and contact the relevant personnel there. Is that about right? Lin Qin said. Almost. But if you encounter a sea monster under any circumstances, it is better to minimize single actions, I said. After reading the information, I judged that the monster did not look like a creature that could be easily dealt with. This is indeed a problem, especially for classmate Lin Qin, who is a girl. It would be dangerous if she encountered a sea monster alone, Qin Liang said. Lin Qin was not very happy to hear this, and said, "Wait, I'm an ocean type among them, how could there be any danger? You should worry about yourselves." That's right, compared to the sea monster, the squad leader's power is more powerful, I said. Really? That's right, it's my fault, Qin Liang apologized. In that case, it's better for each of us to do one area. I will go to the 18th area, and you will be responsible for the 16th and 17th areas. If any situation occurs, contact us, or contact the Mecha guards in that area, I said. No objection, Lin Qin agreed. Me too, Qin Liang agreed, and then continued, the 18th area is not far from the 16th and 17th areas. Xingze has to be careful about this. It's okay, I still have the ability to protect myself, just cheer for you guys, I said. Then after some discussion, the conclusion was reached. I will go to the 18th area, Lin Qin is the 17th area, and Qin Liang is the 16th area, each responsible for an area. After a while of flight, the Mecha arrived at the 16th area of the South District, over the Water City. We landed at a nearby Mecha parking area. We emerged from the area and, looking out, we could see numerous small cabins, trees, the surrounding water, and people. Countless people in summer clothes were present. On a day like this, there were many tourists. The Water City in this new century city has many unique features. There's an aerial tunnel, Mecha demonstrations, and beach volleyball. More importantly, it's one of the few places in the new century city with such beautiful scenery. Therefore, it's a frequent stop for tourists, especially in summer. Looking out, we could see the deep blue sea. We were currently perched atop a building. Our mission was about to begin. It's truly beautiful here, and the air is quite fresh, Qin Liang said. You're right. I lived here for a while a few years ago, Lin Qin remarked. No wonder her skin was nearly bronze, it looked like it had been cultivated here. Let's begin our mission and prepare to head to our respective areas, I said. Well, remember to contact the Mecha guards in each area first. I'm leaving now, Qin Liang agreed, heading off in another direction. I'm heading to Area 17, Lin Qin said. Well, I think I'll need to take a ferry to Area 18. Goodbye, I said, and headed towards the boat boarding point. After this discussion, we each split up. Each of us took a different route, so we split up into 3 groups. I contacted the ocean-shaped Mecha guards in Area 18, but there's no news yet about the sea monster. After walking around the streets, I lined up to buy a ticket to Area 18 and boarded the boat. If nothing else, I'll enjoy the summer scenery. Once aboard, I saw many men in Hawaiian attire and women with lace in their hair. Many people were here on vacation. Suddenly, a vendor approached and asked, "What can I do for you, sir?" Hanging in front of him were a number of props, ice drinks and sunglasses. I bought these too. I don't know why I did this, perhaps it was the scorching summer heat. I sipped my ice drink while waiting for the cruise ship to reach Area 18. After a while, the ship arrived at the dock. Passengers disembarked one after another, and so did I. I took off my sunglasses, they were indeed unnecessary. Are you here for a tour? Let me show you the scenic spots in this area, the guide said. No, I'm here for some work. We'll talk after I'm done, I quickly declined. I then walked along the sandy path along the south coast. What I was doing, I guess, was some investigation. But I had no clue what I was doing. It seemed like sea monsters had appeared in the waters nearby. I didn't hold out much hope, just wandering around, treating it as a bit of sightseeing, and continued along the coast. I don't want to think about the Mecha guard for now. I decided to take a look at the situation around here by myself and then make a decision. Chapter 78 Encounter. The south coast is indeed vast. I stayed there for the entire afternoon, and by afternoon, I was piloting a mech, obtained from the escort team, and moving across the water. I was surveying the nearby waters from above. The mech possessed some flight and diving capabilities, a characteristic of these ocean-class mechas. There were also deep-sea mechas conducting underwater surveys, and I was in charge of the maritime operations. It was almost sunset, and the crowds were quite low, at least near the coast. The mech escort team was on a temporary break, and the recent sea monsters disturbances had caused this situation. I had no problems, quite free, drifting alone over the azure waters. So far, no information had been received regarding the monster, and there was nothing special to do. Seagulls flitted back and forth in the sky, apparently searching for dinner. Soon, I spotted a cruise ship approaching in the distance. Perhaps it was the last of the afternoon, heading towards the south coast. The cruise ship's progress caused the surrounding waves to ripple. Suddenly, a strange ripple spread out not far from the boat, forming a series of large circles. Suddenly, a dark figure emerged from the water. A gigantic, 8-legged monster instantly appeared. What's going on? The boat is shaking so violently, the people on the cruise ship were instantly staggered. Not only did some tourists fall to the ground, but many tables and chairs were overturned. Is it a tsunami? Look over there, what's that black creature? Isn't that the legendary sea monster? Look. Take a picture of it. Many of the tourists were making a lot of noise, causing a commotion on the cruise ship. Some were shocked to see the enormous monster firsthand, others were terrified, and some were excited. This is bad. Turn around quickly and get away from that monster. Other crew members, notify the Mecha escort immediately, the cruise ship's manager shouted. Passengers, please remain calm and squat down to avoid being hit, the security officer shouted immediately. Upon hearing this, many of the passengers collapsed to the ground, some already lying on the ground. The cruise ship changed course and headed in a different direction, intending to bypass the area. However, the gigantic 8-legged monster noticed this and pursued the cruise ship. Its speed was incredible, over 3 times faster than the cruise ship, and it closed in on the ship in a flash. What the hell is chasing us? Those who witnessed a black sea monster up close were terrified. The strange face and dark red eyes of the creature, similar to yet different from an octopus, were terrified. Is it a squid? No. It's more like an octopus, someone muttered. A cross between a squid and an octopus might be a more apt description. At that moment, one of the sea monster's legs swung out, slamming into the cruise ship's deck. It entangled a corner of the ship, making it impossible to continue sailing. With a jolt, the cruise ship rocked violently, and everyone struggled to keep their balance. What a joke. They're attacking us. Where are the guards? The tourists exclaimed in panic. Some had already been flung into the water by the sudden force of the attack. At the same time, others began launching lifeboats, attempting to abandon ship. At that moment, a dark blue mecha streaked through the air not far away, its black sword in hand. With a single strike, it severed the sea monster's leg that had entangled the cruise ship. The ship was briefly freed, but after its leg was severed, the sea monster roared, stirring up waves on the surface. The wave surged, and the cruise ship rocked and swayed. The sea monster's remaining legs aimed at my mech and began lashing out. Long, black legs danced across the sea surface at an incredible speed, like a phantom. With insufficient distance to evade the attacks, my mech was instantly struck by the massive legs, and the powerful impact sent it careening into the water. Fortunately, my mech possessed the ability to dive, so I continued to approach the monster underwater. From beneath the surface, I could clearly see its form. A black ore clung to its body, resembling some of the magical beasts I'd encountered before. Perhaps the fragments that flew into the sea had eroded this creature, causing a mutation. The only option was to defeat it, and there were no nearby who could purify it. Furthermore, it was wreaking havoc, putting the crew on board in danger. With a decisive move, the black blade suddenly radiated a golden-orange glow, transforming into a crystal-clear, shimmering golden blade. Instantly, my mech, surging through the water, surged forward, charging towards the sea monster. A deep blue mecha emerged from the water, stirring up a wave, and suddenly charged forward, slamming into the sea monster's head. The impact caused it to pause for a moment. Crack, the sea monster roared, dark energy gathering in its mouth, then unleashed a shockwave. I swung a golden slash, colliding with its black shockwave, creating a significant impact in the air. The sea monster seemed in a state of confusion, attacking recklessly, splashing water everywhere. The cruise ship was behind it, and any mishap would put it in great danger. We had to find a way to stop it now. Instantly, I approached the sea monster again, swinging my lightsaber horizontally, slashing a scar on its body. However, the monster, having recovered from its injured leg, continued its attack, its broken body spurting out black mud, partially obstructing my vision. I unleashed a golden energy blast, sending it reeling back slightly. Despite the considerable force, the monster's massive frame was unbearable, and it merely deflected. However, this blow only intensified its rage. It began to dance and spin. Its 8 legs danced wildly, and with its massive body at its center, the sea monster spun through the water like a spiral. After a few turns, the water around it formed a massive vortex. Its rotation intensified, like a tornado, a black hurricane. Not only did it spin, but its body also continuously spewed black mud, a powerful attack. My mech was hit repeatedly, but I had to get the ship away. I stood firm, while the cruise ship continued to flee. The sea monster's massive rotation, like a tornado, had the power to pull everything around it in, and as it moved, my mech was inevitably drawn towards the center. Blasted by the mud, I found no escape route. I was already within its range, unable to escape. In an instant, I exerted all my strength, concentrating the power of my sword and charging towards the center of the black whirlwind. I charged at the black form with all my might. A shimmering golden light and a shimmering blackness created a powerful impact. Gradually, the sea monster slowed down and stopped moving. This gave the cruise ship a chance to escape. And it successfully made its way out. My mech, however, had a different outcome. The next moment, my mech was swept up in the whirlwind. At the last moment, I tried to deploy my shield to block the impact, but it was too late. The collision with its body sent my mech flying. Woo woo woo, the sea monster cried out, perhaps in pain from the previous blow, regaining consciousness. It gradually stopped spinning, turned over, and dove into the water. Like a rocket, a black aura erupted from its tail as it swiftly fled into the depths. My mech, meanwhile, fell into the water and, instantly, was subjected to a barrage of attacks, temporarily shutting down. The screen before me turned red as the mech plummeted towards the sea floor. Forced to open the hatch, I was immediately flooded with seawater. I barely escaped the mech and watched the deep blue mech sink into the sea. With no other options, I struggled in the water. I hadn't realized when I abandoned the mech that I wasn't much of a swimmer. As I was sinking, I seemed to see something, a blue figure, but my vision was blurry and I couldn't make out what it was. I felt like I was being carried away. Chapter 79 Encounter. I probably lost consciousness midway through, unable to grasp the situation at that moment. Beneath the setting sun, on the shore of the south coast, a man lay on a rock. Beside him lay a petite woman, roughly 16 years old. At that hour, the south coast was practically deserted. The girl's black hair fluttered in the sea breeze, her gaze fixed on the water. I seemed to have a dream, dreaming of sinking into the ocean. When I opened my eyes, I saw a red sky, just as the sun was about to set. I couldn't quite grasp why I was there. Where is this? I asked, and a girl happened to be standing nearby. She turned and replied, South Coast, that's what this place is called. Really? South Coast? Isn't that Area 18? As she spoke, I couldn't help but recall how I had tragically fallen into the ocean not long ago, and since then, I've lost all memory. Humans are truly confused, unable to comprehend anything. Did I fall into the sea and then something happened to bring me back to shore? You think so? That's right, I brought you to shore, the girl said. She was wearing a white dress and looked younger than me, with a pale complexion. Is that so? Thank you so much for your help and for saving my life. Are you out here alone? If you need anything, you can tell me. I've been hanging around here lately, I said. I'd recently told the other two to be careful, but I was the first to get into trouble. While I'd survived, it was a rather awkward situation. Well, can't you remember what happened 10 years ago? The girl asked. Hearing that, I asked, 10 years ago? What did I do back then? As I said this, something clicked in my mind. It was a dream I'd had moments before. I'd dreamt of a girl, and for some reason, she was now right in front of me. She seemed to want my help with something, or was she just doing something? It's a bit like the coast here. 10 years ago, on a certain shore, you saved my life, the girl said. I saved your life, did that happen? I asked. I don't seem to recall saving a girl 10 years ago. But I don't seem to trust memories anymore. Perhaps I've simply forgotten. Don't you remember? If you can tell by appearance, it's probably not surprising. 10 years have passed, and I'm not human, I'm a whale, the girl whispered. A whale? I asked, confused. Yes, I'll be frank. Because of that, I have 3 things I want to do for you. Whatever you say. Hearing the girl mention whales, I remembered seeing a large fish stranded on the shore a long time ago. I seemed to have struggled to push it back into the sea. Perhaps that was it. Is that so? It's incredible. You're not human, yes, and you said 3 things. Aren't you now paying me back for what I did before? So that's no longer necessary, I said. She already saved my life. I was so kind to save hers back then. 3 things, the girl said. 3 things? Do you mean that only counts as 1? I replied. Not even 1. I volunteered, the girl replied. What she said was truly generous. It actually left me a little confused. Are those 3 things absolutely necessary for you? Yes. After those 2 sentences, I felt a little reluctant to refuse. The girl seemed so sincere and honest. As a way of repaying her for saving my life, I should refuse her like this. So, do you know that a sea monster appeared in the sea nearby? Sea monster? What kind of guy is that? Asked the girl. It looks a bit like an octopus, huge, and black all over. I replied. In that case, I seem to have seen it when I came here. What happened to that monster? Really, there have been frequent sea monster attacks in this water city area recently, so we want to take some measures. How can we make that guy leave, really? The first thing is this, that is, don't let that monster continue to make trouble here, right? Well, as long as you can do that, it's fine. Okay, I see, the girl stood up and said. Then the girl took out a pair of sunglasses and said to me, is this yours? I saw the familiar sunglasses. It seemed that I had dropped it at some point. It seems so, but I don't need it anymore. I see, then lend it to me for a while. The girl put on the sunglasses. Yes, what's your name? I asked the girl wearing sunglasses. Lanzin, that's my name, I'm Xingze. Thank you for your guidance recently, I replied. We then headed towards the other side of the south coast, temporarily moving away from the coast and into the city afterward. I contacted the Mecha escort team from Area 18. They said the previous sea monster attack didn't cause any major casualties, only some damage to the ship, requiring a temporary rest period. I explained the situation to the escort team. Although I was helping the ship, my Mecha was also lost. They were happy to accept my explanation, and nothing serious happened afterwards. Meanwhile, I corresponded with Qin Liang and Lin Qin, explaining the situation. We then decided to have a brief meeting in the evening. Lanzin seemed quite free at that time, so she and I walked towards the tea house in the town of Area 18. We didn't have to cross the sea, so Qin Liang and Lin Qin came over on their own initiative. It was now 6:30 p.m., and we arrived at the tea house, just in time for our appointment. Upon entering, I immediately spotted 2 familiar figures, Lin Qin and Qin Liang. They were waiting for me at their tables. I walked over to them and took my seat. Lanzin followed, taking a seat next to me. Xingze, you seem to have had some problems this afternoon, and I have a lot to discuss with you. However, I'm sorry to bother you, but who was that person with you earlier? Qin Liang asked. Is she a tour guide? She looks quite young. It seems there have been some around here before, young people working for money, Lin Qin said, noting the sunglasses-wearing girl sitting next to me. No, she's not a tour guide. Perhaps it would be better for you to treat her as a new helper, I said. Qin Liang and Lin Qin exchanged glances, but then decided not to continue. Never mind, let's get to the point, Lin Qin said, cutting straight to the point. I briefly explained the recent encounter with a sea monster and the subsequent attack on a cruise ship in the South China Sea. I also honestly told them how unfortunate it was to be thrown overboard. Is that so? But thanks to you, the ship was saved. We're thankful. You did a great job, didn't we? Qin Liang said. Well, for a novice on the water, you're doing quite well, Lin Qin chuckled in agreement. Let's summarize the previous incident. I think it's best for us to operate in pairs from now on. That way, we can look after each other if we run into danger, I said. That's right, Qin Liang agreed. So, how should we group up? Lin Qin asked, seemingly agreeing. Before, I was saved by this girl named Lanzin, so I'll continue to work with her. You happen to be in areas 16 and 17. So forming a team like this should be fine, I said. We're fine, but what about that girl? She's just a little girl, isn't she? Lin Qin said. As she said, Lanzin was just a little girl, but she saved me. This wasn't ordinary at all, yet I couldn't find a reason to respond. Lanzin, who had been sitting silently beside me, wearing sunglasses, suddenly said, No problem. I'm very efficient underwater, even faster than a normal mecha. Lin Qin and Qin Liang were both silent at this sudden statement. They didn't know the girl's identity, nor had they seen her abilities, so they couldn't say anything at this point, so they just agreed. That's it, our divisions, I said. Okay, let's do this for now. If anything goes wrong, remember to contact us, Lin Qin said. That's right, Qin Liang said. So, our divisions were finalized. Soon after, we concluded our brief meeting and headed to our respective areas of responsibility. Chapter 80 Search. On the morning of my second day in the 18th district of the Water City, due to a mission, I arranged with a girl to meet at a nearby water plaza, not far from where I live. I arrived at our destination around 8 o'clock. The mission was scheduled to begin at 8 o'clock. As I approached the entrance to the water plaza, I immediately spotted the girl. She wasn't wearing sunglasses, and her long, black hair was indeed exceptionally bright. Lanzin, are you free? It's okay if you don't come with me, I said as I approached her. No, I'll be staying around here for the time being, but I have plenty of time, so it's no problem, I understand. Let's go, I said. Lanzin nodded and joined me. Our next plan was to head towards the south coast. I'm afraid we'll spend most of our time wandering the South China Sea. We continued along this small island, which resembled a floating city. Although we hadn't yet reached the coast, we saw numerous streams and rivers surrounding us. These bodies of water were part of the ocean, a characteristic of this area. We continued on, crossing street after street, and soon arrived at the southern coast. The sky was clear today, a beautiful, hot summer day. Although we arrived early, we could still see people around. The morning sailing schedule was set to begin at 8 o'clock, which was also the time when the ocean-shaped mecha units would begin their operations, and that was when our mission began. The two of us began walking along the beach. Approaching the ocean carries a certain chance of encountering the sea monster, and the southern coast seems to be the most likely location for such sightings. As we walked, we could see the azure sea and the vast sky up close, truly giving the impression of boundlessness. The ocean is so vast, and finding that creature would be extremely difficult. Now, we could only let nature take its course. Does Lanzin have any special ability to locate sea monsters? I asked. No, but I can identify that creature. I have a sense, Lanzin said. What's the exact range of that sense? I asked. I also possess a similar power. Lanzin drew a circle with her hand. About a 1.5 kilometer radius, very large. In other words, she could sense the creature's presence within a 1.5 kilometer radius. With such a powerful sense, searching for it would be much easier. So, we'll find it, Lanzin said confidently, pointing to her ears. Her senses resembled ears. We walked, advancing along the southern coast. The other mecha escorts would probably contact us if anything happened. We were probably doing something similar. Judging by the mission's difficulty, it shouldn't be too great. It was already the second day, and I had planned to treat it as part of my daily practice. We were now practitioners on the journey, and that seemed to be our identity. We advanced peacefully, the morning calm, and then, at noon, we sat down at a beachside rest area, planning to rest for a while. We drank the abundant iced drinks. So far, we haven't found anything, not on the other side, nor on the marine mecha unit. It seems we won't be found so easily, I feel. We spent our lunch hour watching the big screen TV. After killing some time there, at 1 in the afternoon, we began our new journey again. Today, we'd likely be covering the entire southern coast. Will we continue along the coast this afternoon? I asked. Yes, Lanzin said. We had no disagreements, and as expected, our afternoon itinerary would continue along the coast. The journey resumed, and we continued along the coast. At noon, Lanzin put on a hat. The weather was indeed very hot, and there was a possibility of a whale stranding. Are you hot? I asked as we drove. It's okay, I'm getting used to it, Lanzin said. Really? Don't force yourself. After a conversation, we continued our journey, heading along the vast seashore. Unsure when we'd encounter our target, we kept walking. Before we knew it, our day's journey had come to an end. Nothing had been found, there had been no news of the sea monster all day. By evening, we'd exhausted the southern coast, but found no trace of the creature. The same was true for the other side, and the mech guards as well. See you tomorrow, Lanzin said, taking a cold drink with her as she left. I also headed for our temporary accommodations in the direction of a cabin a little way from here. We'd also conduct some nighttime patrols, as there were reports of sea monsters appearing at night. That was pretty much how the day went. The next day, having completed our southern coastline, we decided to explore the north coast. At 8 o'clock in the morning, we met again at the waterfront plaza. "Are we heading to the north coast today?" I asked. "Yes, we'll expand our search as much as possible," Xingze nodded. And so we began our circumnavigation of the other half of the island. The north coast represents the other half of Area 18. If we could conquer it, we'd have essentially completed the entire area. Unsure of what the day would hold, our journey began, maintaining constant communication with the other two parties. The journey was similar to yesterday's, though the north coast offered a different vista. We merely passed through it. Thus, in a little over a day, we completed our circuit of the north coast, successfully circumnavigating the island. However, to no avail, on the afternoon of the third day, Xingze and I walked along the central streets of the 18th district of Water City, this time following a different route. We continued our search for the sea monster, finding it until around 9:30 p.m., on the main avenue near the coast. Suddenly, Xingze's head stirred slightly, a reaction unlike any before. She said, "We found it. It's in the sea not far away." "Really? How do we get there?" I said. Because of Xingze's words, I looked around, but I didn't see anything, nor did I sense the monster's presence. "Go that way," Xingze said, and she broke into a run. Her pace was quite brisk, and I couldn't help but quicken my pace to follow her. As she ran, her hat blew off in the wind, and I caught it. A moment later, we rounded a corner and arrived at the beach. I saw a figure, a wavering figure. It was just out in the ocean not far away. It was night, and visibility was poor, but I saw it, and so did Xingze. I thought I'd lost it for the day, but unexpectedly, I encountered it. It's been days since I'd seen that sea monster. I'm going to see it. "I'm leaving now," Xingze said, stepping into the water and leaping off, swimming into the ocean. I arrived later, but since I'm not a good swimmer, I decided to fly over the surface. Immediately, I stepped onto the crimson cloud and took off. Using multiple jumps, I chased it from the air. I couldn't keep the crimson cloud visible for long. This was the only way to be most efficient. I moved swiftly across the surface, feeling the strong breeze. The water was rippling. Just like the scene of a sea monster, Xingze approached her target from the water at high speed, unafraid of the violent waves, forging ahead at a speed no slower than my own on the surface. We all arrived in front of the sea monster. It was watching from the surface, not only wondering what to do, but its red eyes were clearly visible, not in its normal state. Xingze seemed to be approaching, but it suddenly waved its tentacles, stirring the seawater, causing us all to be disturbed. "It's been a few days, what are you doing in these waters?" I asked the monster. Hearing the sound, the sea monster moved, looking towards me. Seeing the small figure, it roared. It swung its foot at me, and I couldn't help but dodge backward. The red gaze made me ready to fight. In a flash, I summoned the sword. The black sword shone with a faint light, illuminating the night sea. The sea monster screamed in surprise at this, its eyes widening. It stared at me silently for a moment, then turned and dove into the water, swiftly flailing its 8 legs and escaping underwater. Xingze and I both tried to see what it was up to, but the black smoke from the sea monster's tail obscured our view. Advancing was difficult. The sea monster escaped. We then landed on the shore. "We failed this time," Xingze said. Indeed, we ended our journey for the day. Chapter 81: Diving into the Sea. The sea monster just now seemed to notice me, displaying a peculiar expression, inspired by previous encounters with it. I hadn't seen the sea monster in the past few days, most likely because it was injured and recuperating, so it hadn't had time to cause trouble. "That sea monster escaped, and it seems to be connected to you." It looked a little panicked, Xingze asked. "A few days ago, when it attacked the cruise ship, I chased it off. Because of that, it might have recognized me when I drew my sword," I replied. "Really?" Xingze said, as if recalling something. "But it's amazing you knew the sea monster was in that area. How did you do that?" I continued to ask. "It's my ears," Xingze said, placing her hands over her ears. "I can hear it, I can feel it. That big creature's aura is unique, Xingze. She can sense creatures within a radius of approximately 1.5 kilometers. Possessing unique hearing, She can tune out unwanted sounds and focus on those she wants to hear, thereby determining the location of the target. This can be considered a partial divine hearing ability. I couldn't compare to Lanzin in this regard. Her range of perception was far greater than mine, and that was clear enough. Therefore, circling the island like that wasn't a needle in a haystack. Do you understand what that sea monster is trying to do? I asked again. Not quite, but it seems to be in some pain, as you can tell from its expression, Lanzin replied. Based on my experience, it might be due to the black aura surrounding it, I said. Yes, that aura is indeed a bit strange, Lanzin nodded slightly in agreement. Then purifying it truly requires special talent. I don't have that ability, I said. If we can avoid defeating it, let me try, Lanzin said, extending a hand. She looked determined to give it a try, and I had no objection, silently accepting her idea. Then, let's continue this work tomorrow, I said. The girl nodded, and we dispersed. We spent another day in Area 18. The next morning, we met at the water park as agreed. When we arrived, Lanzin was already waiting near the entrance. After reuniting, we set out again, beginning our journey. Let's go to the south coast today. There's a new mech there, provided by the mech guard, I said. Well, sea monsters often appear in the waters around there, Lanzin agreed. Then we set off. The summer morning was hot enough, but today the wind was strong, so it was a relief. We continued on to the mech tunnel near the south coast. There, I found a dark blue mech. After verification, it was quickly operational. Even though I had recently broken down one, the operators were very generous. That way, we can conduct an aerial search today, I said. Lanzin nodded. We then boarded the mech, a medium-sized ocean-shaped mech with a cabin. We climbed inside and began operating it. Is it okay inside the mech? I asked. No problem, it won't affect me, then let me know if we find anything. We'll proceed from above the sea area. With that, I activated the mech and began moving along the surface of the south coast. This time, we even had life jackets ready, just in case. The mech powered up and flew overhead, planning a circuit around the southern coast. I figured this area wouldn't be explored before. After deciding, we circled the southern coast, following Lanzin's instructions. Our mech spent nearly an hour circling the entire southern coast. We'd indeed explored the entire coast. But the target hadn't appeared. We've almost completely circled this area. Should we head north? I asked. No, I actually think the monster is on the southern coast, Lanzin said. Is that so? But you haven't found any trace of it, have you? Yes, but I think it's probably deep within this ocean. We need to investigate, Lanzin said. She believed the sea monster was hiding in the depths, about 1.5 kilometers below sea level. Okay, I understand. Next, let's dive underwater and take a look, I said, controlling the mech as it slid down into the seawater. This ocean-shaped mech was quite fast underwater and had excellent resistance to water pressure, so it could easily dive to around 3,000 meters. So, I switched the mech's mode to underwater, maneuvering more freely underwater like a fish. Then, we began our latest underwater operation, descending from the center of the South China Sea, first diving about 1,000 meters. The deep blue mech continued to move downward, revealing the numerous creatures in the water, including a wide variety of fish, all visible on our screens. We continued to move downward, unnoticed, reaching a depth of 1,500 meters, then 2,000, and then 2,500 meters. At this moment, the girl next to me reacted. She moved her head slightly, but said nothing. I continued to descend. Perhaps this was the correct way to go. After a moment, I asked, "What's going on? Have you found it? I sensed it just now, but it's out of range again. Is it because it's moving?" "Yes," Lanzin replied. There was no sign of the sea monster, and I continued to descend, still nothing. It might have left in another direction. "Do you know which way it went?" I asked. Lanzin quickly pointed to the right. I followed suit, moving sideways to the right. Speeding up, I advanced a considerable distance in that direction, but the girl beside me showed no sign of reaction. In other words, I hadn't found it yet. What's going on? No, the sea monster's trajectory is hard to predict, and it's out of range now, then we'll just have to keep searching, I said. The dark blue mech continued its treading through the water until we found the sea monster. We still had a long way to go. After a moment, Lanzin turned slightly and said to me, "This doesn't look easy. Let me out." "Out?" Do you mean outside the engine room? Yes, I'll go find it myself, Lan Xing nodded. We're already below 3,000 meters. Is that okay? It's okay. I'm not ordinary. As she spoke, Lan Xing moved towards the rear door. Behind it was a waterproof door. Opening that, and then further into the engine room, would allow her to exit underwater. I understand. Be careful. She controlled the switch, opening the first door, and Lan Xing followed through. Open the second door, Lan Xing said, her face ready. Okay, I replied, closing the first door and opening the second. The water surged forward, and the girl faced it head-on, nimbly diving into the water. Swimming like a human, her feet slapping the water, she swiftly moved forward. In that instant, I saw her hair turn a deep blue, and so did her eyes. Her hair spread out in a mess as she swiftly drifted upstream, with me close behind. The speed was so great that even the Mecha was losing ground in the water. After a moment, she stopped, slowly lingering in the center of the water, glancing around. It seemed she hadn't found her target, and I had a chance to catch up. Suddenly, the girl took a deep breath and roared. The sound waves, coming from nowhere, were so powerful that the sea around her centered on her body suddenly vibrated, causing me, sitting nearby in the Mecha, to feel the intense tremors. It was like a lion's roar, but perhaps 1,000 times more powerful. After a moment, the girl noticed and glanced in a certain direction. Then, turning back to me, she gestured, pointing a finger in a direction. She seemed to be saying that the target was over there. Then, Lan Xing began to swim in that direction. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 82 Return to Shore. With flowing dark blue hair, the girl's figure continued to advance through the deep sea like a shuttle. My dark blue mech followed closely behind, already at full throttle. To increase speed, I had no choice but to use the power of the original spirit. To avoid losing it, I increased my mech speed further and followed. We crossed the reefs one after another, advancing for a distance, and finally caught up with our target. The jet black monster was now before our eyes. Nearby, beside the coral reef, the eight-legged alien creature lingered. We all saw it. We began to approach it, but it soon noticed us and issued a warning. The sea monster was pitch black, with dark red eyes. It was enormous, with 8 legs and now a pair of horns on its head, like a squid's head with a pair of horns on either side, resembling a king squid. The girl ignored the warning and moved forward, slowly approaching the sea monster. Seeing the tiny creature approach, the sea monster watched silently, perhaps just a fly that posed no threat. However, the fly touched the sea monster, and it waved away. It seemed in a bad mood. With a flick of its foot, the girl leaped away, her agility in the water so great that the sea monster's attack missed. "Why are you chasing us?" "How annoying," the sea monster said. "No, we have no intention of harming you. It's just that you're constantly causing disturbances on the coast, which is causing trouble for the people at sea," Lan Xing responded. "Who knows? Why is my body so driven to destruction? You have a black aura about you. That might be the reason, really? Do you understand?" "No one understands. Sometimes I feel like I'm out of control. They say there's something wrong with me." The sea monster waved its arms and legs, looking deeply frustrated, with nowhere to vent. I was watching too. That black aura has a powerful effect on living things. Those affected by it might become transformed, either controlled or driven into a frenzy. That destructive urge, perhaps the consciousness of some being, infected that creature as well, as if it had acquired a new habit. The sea monster wavered its arms and legs, looking deeply unhappy. "You're the one who broke my tentacles earlier, my enemy," it suddenly said, looking at me. No, I was helpless. I seemed to understand its complaint and responded. "You're kidding?" The sea monster struck my mech with its tentacles, forcing it to retreat a considerable distance. It seemed I shouldn't approach it rashly, as the previous incident had already bred resentment towards me. "Calm down, sea monster. You were about to destroy the human ship at that time, and if you had caused casualties, you would have been finished. It's a good thing the ship escaped safely. You didn't intend to harm them, did you?" "Yes, I'm a kind-hearted inhabitant of the sea." "You truly understand me," the sea monster sighed. "In that case, I'll help you exorcise the foreign object from your body. I learned many spells from my master in Dragon Palace City. Very well, I'll leave it to you. Lan Xing nodded and began to approach the sea monster. Parts of her hands and feet, a deep blue, seemed to be part of a whale, appearing shiny and solid. She then gently placed them on the girl. Kaya, the sea monster suddenly lost control, a black aura emanating from it as it violently charged. Its 8 legs danced wildly, causing the girl to be swept away by the current. That guy. It seemed necessary to take action now. I conjured the black sword, gleaming with azure light, and approached. Lan Xing, standing in front of me, reached out a hand, blocking my way. Put away your sword. Let me take this. I obeyed Lan Xing's advice and retracted the gleaming sword. Silently watching ahead, Lan Xing once again took 2 steps forward. The sea monster roared and began to spin. The black energy in its body spun at high speed, creating a turbulent current around it. Seeing this, Lan Xing arrived at the center of the monster, drawing in air and roaring. Instantly, a powerful vibration radiated from its mouth, striking forward. A massive torrent of water rushed towards the sea monster, instantly stopping it. Woo woo, the sea monster looked dizzy. Lan Xing rushed into its arms and grabbed it with both hands. The girl's body was now radiating with blue light, gradually enveloping the monster. The girl chanted something. I couldn't make out what it was, but it was a beautiful blue glow, rippling across the sea. The scene was incredible. It was probably some kind of spell, perhaps. Although I had no idea, the black hue on the sea monster was fading. Soon, it was no longer black, but a dark blue. Lan Xing, are you done? Yes, Lan Xing nodded. A moment later, the sea monster stood up and looked at the 2 figures before it. Its eyes were no longer red, but seemed much gentler. I seemed to have recovered. I'm so sorry, my self-control was so weak, it said. So, you don't have to keep wandering around the coast. Go to the depths of the sea, that's right. Thank you, and the people over there. It's all thanks to you. You're bothering me about the title of the play about that island. I understand perfectly well. I won't be showing up in such conspicuous places again, the sea monster said, as if making a gesture of respect. Even if I couldn't quite understand what it was saying, I could make out something. Then it swam away. After that, Lan Xing and I swam toward the surface. As we ascended, we soon saw sunlight filtering through the water. We gradually approached the surface. Suddenly, the deep blue mech emerged, and so did Lan Xing, landing on its shoulders. This, perhaps, meant mission accomplished. I opened the hatch to let her in. The girl whose hair had previously turned blue now had long black hair and the same young body, seemingly a hallucination. That monster probably won't come back, I said. Yes, by the way, what exactly was that creature? This is the first time I've seen one of those creatures, I said. I don't know, the sun was still shining brightly outside, but the scenery was beautiful, and the sea breeze was refreshing. We each gazed out at the sea for a moment, then returned to the engine room and started the mech again, heading for the south coast. At any rate, the incident seemed to be over for now. I believed so, and so I needed to contact the other 2 parties. After the mech landed on the south coast and was returned to its proper location, we landed in Area 18 and, after lunch, contacted both sides. First, the Mecha guards. From what I've heard, they can't easily conclude that the sea monster won't return. Without concrete proof, they can conclude the mission is over. Even if I were an elite, it wouldn't be of much use. Meanwhile, Qin Liang and Lin Qin explained the situation to them. They believed my explanation, but were criticized for not informing them that I was currently carrying out a series of missions. But the best thing was that the mission was already completed, that was all. You contributed to this mission being concluded so quickly, I said to Lan Xing. So, what's next? Have you decided? Lan Xing replied. More, through this, you've learned some of my strengths, which will help you better decide what to do. No, I need to go back to Area 17 to deal with the mission. We'll discuss the rest tomorrow, I said. See you tomorrow, Lan Xing said, and I parted ways with her. Next, we have to meet up with the other 2, and Lan Xing also has her plans. Chapter 83 Similar People. The next day, I met with Qin Liang and Lin Qin yesterday and informed them of the situation. Then, I went to the Mecha Guard headquarters and spoke with the commander. The result was the same as before. Without certification, we couldn't guarantee the safety of the sea. However, After our explanation, they expressed their trust and agreed to remain here for 1 to 2 weeks. If no sea monsters appeared during that time, our mission would be accomplished. The Academy contacted us and they all agreed. This meant that we would remain in the Water City for a period of time starting today. That was the result. That morning, I returned to the Water Plaza as agreed. The girl, Xingze, was indeed standing nearby. I quickly met her and relayed the intelligence. Is that so? Yes, that's great. There are 2 more things we can do during that time, Xingze said. What are you going to do next? Aren't you a whale? Can we stay here forever? What does that have to do with that? Even if I'm a whale, I can still do what humans do, so you'll still be with me. Yes, Xingze replied. Really? Well, since I have some free time, how about we take a nice trip around this water city, I said. That's fine, but I'm not very familiar with it, so this might be a challenge, Xingze replied honestly. It's okay, me too, Xingze nodded slightly. We were just 2 new people. So we set off. After a few days of completing our missions, we decided to put everything aside and experience the charm of this island. We looked in the guidebook and saw that this water city had many unique attractions. It would probably take more than a day or 2 to see them all. Let's go to the water park first, I suggested. Okay, Xingze agreed. We then set off for our destination and began our day's adventure. First, we visited the famous water park, which boasted not only numerous marine life displays but also special mecha shows. There were mecha competitions and water volleyball. We spent nearly the entire day there. It was a truly novel place, and overall, quite fun, at least providing some laughs. Xingze probably agreed. First time in a place like this, Xingze said. It's pretty ordinary, I replied. We left the water park at dusk, and the day came to an end. Although we had a day of fun, I still had to continue my duty as a sea watchman. It was a timed observation mission, but it wasn't something I particularly cared about. Nevertheless, I continued to do so, quietly watching from a small pavilion near the south coast. Another day passed like this. The next day was another beautiful day, with bright sunshine and clear skies. We met at the square as usual. I planned to explore more today, and since there were still many places I hadn't visited, I also explored some of the destinations listed on the map guide. Xingze was now sporting a single ponytail. Her long, thick, jet black hair seemed awkward without a ponytail. As planned, we arrived at the short display. It was indeed a crowded place. However, most people probably wouldn't notice that the girl with the long, jet black hair was a whale. Xingze was flying a kite, and I was helping. Soon, it was soaring into the sky. That was another task taken care of. It was noon. I had planned to buy some cold drinks, but Xingze, perhaps feeling the heat, went paddling in the water. After returning from a nearby convenience store, I couldn't find the girl. There were simply too many people. Even with my sensory abilities, I couldn't locate her within range. I'm far inferior to her in that regard, let alone others. Being separated from a child is a bit of a dilemma. It seemed necessary to find her next. She wasn't a lost child, though she looked like one. But I couldn't possibly notify the guards. So, I had no choice but to search on my own. I searched along the shore for a long time, but couldn't find the girl. I was at a loss as to what to do. Thinking that the meeting place was the waterfront plaza, I thought it might be a better place to look. So, I headed towards it. It took me nearly an hour to reach the plaza. By the time I arrived, it was already 2 p.m., and even at this hour, the plaza was packed with people, many gathered there to spend the weekend. I didn't see the girl at the entrance, where we'd agreed to meet. Even so, I decided to continue inside. I walked along the plaza's path, surrounded by trees, statues, fountains, and many people, young and old. But I couldn't see the girl. Perhaps she wasn't there, perhaps she had returned to the beach. Anyway, I'll talk about it after I've searched here once, I thought, and continued along the path of the water square. I reached the center of the square. Many people were lingering and playing there, adults, children, and even girls, but my target wasn't there. I continued past them and arrived at the area beyond. Not far away, there were simple swings and a sandpit. Nearby, I spotted a familiar figure. She was wearing a black coat and looked similar to Xingze. To confirm, I approached and took a closer look. Not only that, but it was the person I was looking for. The aura was the same, except for the coat. Where have you been? Are you lost? I asked, approaching the girl. She stared at me in silence, a look of confusion in her eyes. Who are you? Did you recognize the wrong person? She replied. That's not the case. Just take off that coat and you'll look exactly like the person I met before, I said. The aura and appearance were similar, with only subtle differences, which I suspect are due to the coat. Hearing this, the girl immediately took off her black coat and asked, Is this someone you know? Yes, I said, looking at the girl in the dark blue dress in front of me. How is that possible? Just taking off my coat makes me someone you know? Idiot, what? Hearing this, I knew this wasn't the one I was looking for. That girl certainly didn't have that kind of personality. And upon closer inspection, this girl's hair was a little different from Xingze's. It wasn't a ponytail, but long, wavy, jet black hair. Not to mention she was wearing a black coat in the middle of summer. Who could you be mistaking me for? Have you seen someone who looks just like me? Indeed, I replied. Really? That could be my sister, Xingze. Yes, so it's your sister. You two really do look alike, I said, finally understanding the situation. Even so, she and I are very different. But for now, I'm just thinking about finding her. Come with me to where she is. My name is Xingze, the girl said. I'm Xingze, and I don't know where that girl is yet. From the results, it seemed I still hadn't found Xingze's whereabouts. Then let's go. Any leads? Xingze replied. No, but don't worry, if you find me, we'll find her soon. With that, we set off. The girl confidently set off without even taking her coat. Chapter 84 Further Search. After that, we headed towards the south coast. That's where the girl and I had separated not long ago. Since she wasn't back in the square, we had no choice but to return to the south coast and see if she was waiting there. There was no way to communicate, and the girl didn't have any electronic equipment. Then Xingze suddenly asked, Well, how did you get to know my sister? She asked, and I quickly responded. It was recently. I was unfortunately drowned, and she saved me. I see, is that so? Not only that, but I think I saved her life even before that, so we're even. Right, I see. Not bad, Xingze said. We continued on our way. You and that sister really do look alike, I said. It's just an appearance, that's true, but we're actually quite different, Xingze replied. As she said, both of them approached me so easily, and personally, there wasn't much difference. She also had some unique qualities. When Xingze and I were doing a search together, she had a wide range of perception abilities. Can you do that too? I asked. No, I can't. If I could, I wouldn't have to look for her here with you. But in case, I also have a way to call her, but it will affect the people around me. You are whale sisters, don't you have the same sensing abilities? Hearing this, Xingze covered her head lightly. Unfortunately, our cultivation is not yet at home. There may be some areas where we can't agree, so that's not possible. I heard from my master that when you practice to a certain level, you can freely communicate with people's minds, no matter how far the distance is, I said. That, but I'm still very poor. Me too, Xingze sighed, and then said, but please don't worry, I am the fighting king of the underground of the city after all. I especially tell you, don't say these things to anyone casually, Xingze said softly. Fighting, what do you do? Because of some work, I often come here, and in order to eat, I also do some entertainment. That's it. Aren't you a whale? Yes, but fundamentally, they're no different from humans, you know, Xingze said as we continued on our way. We now reached the shore. She leaped onto a rock in front of us and said, I'll learn survival not only in the sea, but also in the human world. Yes, I understand. With that, we began our search for the girl. First, we searched the beach for any trace of her. It took a while, but to no avail. We then wandered around the coastal town, but still couldn't find her. By then, the sky was darkening, the sun setting, the moon rising. The sky was a deep blue. It was 8 p.m. My head hurts. It looks like we won't be able to find that child today, Xingze said. It seems so. She often helps me with my work, so she might be doing something similar. See you tomorrow at that waterfront plaza. Xingze waved and headed off in another direction. I nodded, and the girl and I parted ways. Xingze and I had met at that waterfront plaza several times in the past few days. Perhaps she'd appear there tomorrow. With this thought in mind, I returned to my rented apartment near the coast. Today was over for now. I planned to go back to my room and rest, then the night passed without incident. Neither the Mecha guards, nor Qin Lang, or Lin Qin, had any news related to the sea monster. Everything went smoothly. Then, I didn't know why I was so desperate to find that girl, but before I knew it, we were the ones searching for the missing girl. Since I had some free time, I didn't think much about it. At 8 o'clock in the morning, I walked to the water square I'd always been at. There were a few people walking around at the entrance, but my target wasn't there. It was indeed 8 o'clock, and according to tradition, she would be waiting around here at this time. But she always arrived successfully, which was unlikely. The fact that we'd met so many times before was already a rare occurrence. There was no sign of the girl nearby, and even if she didn't show up, I still had to wait for someone else. I waited at the entrance for a moment, and a familiar figure approached. At first glance, she looked very much like the person I was looking for, but I soon realized she was Lan Xin's sister. "Xingze, you're here early today," Lan Ying greeted. "Nothing. Don't you have reservations today?" "No, I'm usually free during the day." "Well, let's go." "Do you have any ideas?" I asked. "No, but this island isn't very big. I think we'll find it soon," Lan Ying said confidently. With this, we began our search for the day. We wandered around the towns near the south coast and asked many passers-by, but to no avail. It was truly baffling. By noon, we were wandering the nearby streets. "We've searched nearly the entire south coast area. The girl might not be around here," I said. Lan Ying was standing on a nearby signpost, pondering for a moment. After a moment, she said, "Perhaps. Next, we should check the nearby waters. She's a whale, after all." As Lan Ying spoke, she leaped down. Seeing her momentum falling towards me, I raised my hand and caught her. She was now standing on one foot, delicately balancing on my palm. Passers-by gathered around and applauded. Then we walked away. "I was thinking of riding on your shoulders." "Really? What's the point? The view's better." According to Lan Ying, we should head to the south coast and search the waters for the girl. If we can find her quickly, there's nothing wrong with that. I accepted. Although whales are exceptionally light, we soon arrived at the south coast. Since I needed to go out to sea, I decided to set off again in my mech. After a short while, I unloaded the ocean-shaped mech in Lan Ying, and I reached the surface of the South China Sea. The sea was calm, the sun was shining brightly, and it was beautiful weather, casting a brilliant blue light on the sea. "This is my first time riding this vehicle," Lan Ying said with a chuckle. "Next, we'll dive into the sea." "Do you want to go inside the mech?" I asked. "No, we'll search. It would be too much trouble for me to go inside." With that, she flipped from the mech's shoulders and leaped into the sea. I followed suit, switching modes and maneuvering the mech beneath the surface. We both dived, Lan Ying swimming in front, me following behind. Finding a young girl in this vast ocean shouldn't be easy, but since she said so, there must be a way. All I had to do was follow her and move forward. Then, following the girl's figure, I continued deeper into the water, diving to approximately 5,000 meters below. There were many creatures in the sea, numerous fish, and other species I didn't recognize. Lan Ying seemed to be able to communicate with them, and then continued on. After diving for a while, we arrived at a rocky area in the deep sea. There were numerous rocks there, and not far away, a large figure was standing there. I was familiar with it. With 8 legs and a head resembling that of a squid with 2 horns. It must be the sea monster I had encountered before, and Lan Ying was now swimming towards it. Chapter 85 New Goal. We each headed towards the reef where the sea monster lay. I followed Lan Ying. A moment later, we arrived in front of the sea monster. We exchanged glances, each of us affected by the other. "Excuse me, have you ever seen a girl who looks very similar to me?" Lan Ying said. "Someone who looks very similar to you?" "Yes, I have seen one." "What happened to her? I want to find her whereabouts." "Have you seen her? I saw her not long ago. In fact, she seemed to have encountered something at that time and was about to do something," the sea monster said. "What was it? You don't have any bad ideas, do you?" "No, she is my sister. Look at how friendly we are." "That's unlikely," Lan Ying said. The sea monster looked at the girl and me in turn, and then replied, "Regarding her affairs, I have always wanted to help her, but I don't have the power." "Did my sister encounter anything?" Hearing this, Lan Ying replied, "There is a secret treasure called the Deep Sea Money Pearl in the sea area, and it was stolen by some humans. Isn't that the treasure in the Dragon Palace City?" I have indeed heard that it is something that has many benefits for all of us creatures in the ocean, but what does that have to do with my sister? That deep-sea money jewel is now located on a small island nearby, in the seawater just below the water city. It has attracted many sea creatures to come and watch, and all those guys were captured. Among them, a special person was also captured. That person was Xingze's mentor. Really? Xingze's mentor is also my mentor. So that's how it is. How do you know all this? Because I am like this. I didn't look like this originally, but I was captured and transformed under unknown circumstances to become what I am now. Hearing what the sea monster said, Xingze suddenly realized. She thought of more things about these things, and those were closely related to what the sea monster said at the moment. I have a general understanding of the situation. There have been a number of disappearances beneath that island lately, and that might be closely related to what you're talking about. I'm very sorry, but the current owner of the orb isn't a kind person, the sea monster said. Is that so? Then my sister, she's probably on the island right now, or in the surrounding waters. She spoke to me a while ago. I've already told her the location, and I'm afraid she's heading to a special place beneath the island. Thank you, but it seems things are moving very quickly. We need to leave. Xingze nodded to the sea monster and walked towards me. After receiving the information, she relayed to me that her next plan was to return to the island. Xingze's current whereabouts were still uncertain, so we had to confirm them before making a final decision. Shortly afterwards, Xingze arrived in my Mecha, and we returned to the southern coast of the island in Area 18. Xingze possesses the ability to quickly locate Xingze, but she hasn't used it yet. At this point, I couldn't care less and set about confirming the girl's location. After a while, we arrived at the coast. By the time we returned the mech to its original location, it was already noon. We then headed to the central streets of the island and wandered around, looking for a place to rest and searching for the girl. While wandering around, we spotted the girl near a nearby water park. She was wearing a white dress and standing nearby. We approached her. Are you here? We've been looking for you for a long time, Xingze said. The girl turned around and spotted me and the girl. I sensed your presence a while ago. I was planning to say goodbye and head to the sea beneath this city. Xingze approached us. We heard about that place a while ago, I said. Really? Where were you? I haven't seen you since I bought my drinks, I asked. I went swimming in the ocean, and then something happened, Xingze said. At Xingze's suggestion, we headed to the nearby beach and discussed some issues. Did you know about the deep-sea money jewel? Yes, yesterday, while I was in the water, I encountered a sea spirit. It told me that many creatures never return after entering that place. Are you planning to go there? Yes, it seems our master is there too. Really? That's quite a problem, Xingze sighed. Well, why not let me go with you, I said. I was intrigued by the incident and the trouble it was causing for both of them, and I wanted to help. After all, that girl did me a favor. Why? The two girls looked at me, puzzled. Nothing. Xingze saved me before, and I'm free, so it's okay. Take me with you, I said. Okay, Xingze agreed. Xingze said nothing, but chuckled. That's it, then, and so, we agreed. Our discussion concluded. We decided to leave soon, and we spent the afternoon buying drinks at a seaside shop. Then, at 1 in the afternoon, we headed towards the north coast. It's understood that the hidden snow region beneath this area, known as the Water City Underground, is located within the area below. It's relatively close to the north coast, so we'll depart from there. The three of us boarded a dark blue mech and headed for the surface of the sea off the north coast. It should be around here, Xingze said. Then dive in and get ready, I said. I immediately took control of the mech and dived into the sea. Xingze had previously learned the approximate location of the secret base from the sea monster and had marked it on the map. From then on, we simply followed the marked location. This operation involved no one else, it was just the three of us, so we were thoroughly prepared. We continued to descend through the water, moving towards our target. After a while, we arrived at an area of sea rock. Many rocks formed a ring of mountains, and the sea monster had said it was nearby. We searched the area but hadn't found any entrance. Xingze, it's time for me to go out and look. There are some places that can't be found with this machine alone, Xingze said. Well, there are also many special areas in the sea. I want to go out too, Xingze said. Really? In that case, I'll leave it to you, I said, and then opened the first door of the rear cabin. The two girls walked out. Then I looked at them, and they nodded to me. I understood, so I closed the first door and opened the second door. Following the influx of water, the two girls followed the current into the sea. Chapter 86 Hidden Passage. The two men followed a ring around the mountain, and I followed them. Ahead lay a dimly lit area of rocks and reefs. We drifted downstream, slowly advancing near the rocks, swimming forward and following the rocks. This time, we observed the area more slowly. The surrounding area was complex and vast. Perhaps we had missed something, so we advanced even more slowly than before. As we advanced, I turned my mech's flashlights to maximum brightness, hoping to find something. We continued our search, and after a while, we reached the central base of the ring around the mountain. We still couldn't see any entrance or exit. At this point, we were perplexed. I felt afraid this would be another fruitless day like before. So, we decided to stay on the underwater path. What's going on? Any findings? I asked. No, according to what the sea monster said, it should be around here, Xingze said. I looked around again, spreading the flashlight and spotting a submarine passage ahead. There was a cave inside, perhaps there. We haven't been to that cave entrance just now. Let's go check it out now, I said. They both nodded in agreement and headed in that direction. A moment later, we followed the underwater path and arrived at the cave entrance. It was pitch black all around. I shone my flashlight forward, but it was still dark, too dim to reach the end. What's going on up ahead? The flashlight can't illuminate anything, I said. Okay, let's check ahead, Xingze said. Xingze heard this and swam forward with Xingze. After a short distance, we reached a dead end surrounded by rock. I followed them. What's wrong? Why aren't you continuing? I asked, puzzled. There's no way forward, really? But the flashlight still can't reach the end, I suggested. Since there's no way out, and the flashlight underwater can't illuminate anything, I wonder what's going on. Perhaps it's malfunctioning, or perhaps something else. We can't see anything either. I'm afraid there's a barrier blocking our path. I approached the two girls and, using my concentrated sense, sensed what appeared to be some kind of barrier ahead. It looks like there's a special barrier blocking our path. Indeed, it would be strange if it weren't. It's probably a barrier, preventing outsiders from entering, Xingze said. A blue glow emanated from Xingze's surroundings, and she chanted a soft incantation. I could see different colors of light swirling around her. Then, the black mist surrounding the barrier ahead, the area covered in black, gradually dissipated, revealing a door. That's the entrance, right? That's right. Then let's get ready. Xingze immediately moved to the door and pushed it. After a moment, the door opened automatically. Even so, it was too small for my mech to fit through. After the two in front of me entered, I realized I couldn't let this mech follow. The two in front of me quickly noticed this and returned. Can't get in, she said. That's right, then come down and join us, Xingze suggested. It was a good idea indeed. We're 3,000 meters below the surface of the ocean. I wasn't worried about withstanding the water pressure for now, but on reflection, I had nothing to worry about. It's fine for just a little while. I've practiced for so long, I'm a different person now. Harmony has truly broadened and enriched my abilities. Fear of the unknown is something I don't need. So I opened the first door of the cabin. Then used the remote control to open the second. The water rushed in, and I struggled to escape the mech. Then, Xingze and Xingze came to my side. Not bad, I replied. Somewhat, I replied. After floating in the water for a moment, I gradually adjusted. Returning the goggles to the mech, I began to head towards the tunnel with the two girls. When I fell into the water, I forgot about it, was too focused on the battle, and my original spirit wasn't with me. Many factors led to my experience. But now, as the two girls each guided me forward, the water seemed quite relaxing. Strange, I didn't feel anything. I can breathe normally here, HMPH, that's Xingze in me. We can share oxygen, Xingze said. A faint glow spread around them, affecting me as well, making me feel much more relaxed underwater. So, it seems there's nothing wrong, that's good. Let's keep going, Xingze said. We then picked up speed, and I, driven by them, also moved at a faster pace, following the tunnel upwards. It was dim, with only the faint blue glow around us. After a while, we reached the end. Above us, a barrier blocked our path, but Xingze broke through it with her foot. Light streamed in, and the next moment, we entered a place shimmering with a strange light. In an instant, the three of us passed through the circle of light, and in the flashing light, we arrived at different places. We surfaced and saw a grassland. We were at a pond, and we quickly reached its shore. This place isn't on the map anymore. Is it because it's outside the circle? I said. I guess so. There are places like this everywhere, in the ocean, on land, in the jungle, but most people don't notice them, Lan Ying said. This place should be the underground base, Lan Xin said. The two of them seemed to understand something, but I didn't. However, I did understand that this place wasn't the same as before. After passing through the tunnel, I'm afraid we've arrived at an incredible place. I don't even think this is within the new Century City. Look ahead, that huge iron tower, Lan Ying said, pointing ahead. We all turned our attention there. In the distance, a huge iron tower stood tall, surrounded by a hazy fog, obscuring much of it. That might be where the people are being held, Lan Ying suggested. Really? Then let's go and take a look. As we spoke, we began walking towards the tower. The road around us was hazy, shrouded in thick fog, like something high up in the mountains. We still couldn't confirm exactly where we were. We simply walked toward the tower. The path was surrounded by a plateau covered in flowers and trees, and we could smell the fragrance of flowers in the breeze. At first glance, it looked like a beautiful place, and the people who lived there probably weren't bad people. But we couldn't rely on just our feelings. After all, those up ahead might be the thieves who stole treasures or kidnapped people. Rather than that, I wanted to see for myself what this place was. We continued toward the tower. Chapter 87, The Plateau and the Giant Tree. We walked along the path through the grassland, seeing beautiful flowers everywhere. The wind blew the fragrance of the flowers into our nostrils. We headed towards the iron tower. We soon reached the tower's vicinity. Looking ahead, we could see a number of guards. They were all massive. From a distance, they stood over 2 meters tall. Their appearance was strange. While they resembled humans, their skin and expressions were anything but human. As we drew closer, the guards nearby noticed us and began to approach. Who are you? One of them, a tall, strange-looking figure with a lizard face, asked. We fell silent. Excuse me, where's this place? I asked. This is our kingdom. Do not enter without permission, the lizard-faced man snapped. Whose place is this? Lan Ying replied. The owner of this place. So what's inside that tower? It's so huge. What a strange question. Of course there are a lot of things inside. Are there humans like us? Yes. Can I go in and take a look? No. Go back, the lizard man said firmly. The guards nearby looked at us with ill intent. We looked at each other and realized that retreating was the best option. We glanced at each other and turned away. Seeing this, the guards also returned to their original positions. We retreated a distance and stopped under a large tree at a nearby bend. At this point, we were already far away from the group. What should we do next? Lan Ying asked. I think we still have to get inside the tower. The question is how, Lan Xin suggested. Why don't we first observe the terrain and see if there are any other passages? We know nothing about this place, I said. That does make sense, Lan Ying agreed, nodding to indicate she better take a closer look. The three of us decided to start by circling a nearby area and observing. Then let me do it, because I can fly, I said. Then I lightly leaped into the air, my figure floating into the air, my feet stepping on the cyan and red clouds as I ascended into the distant sky. Great. Can you fly? No, it's probably the power of the original spirit. I'm not that powerful. With that, I ascended higher, determined to observe my surroundings. Then I looked around, searching for a foothold to observe the surroundings. Although I could stay aloft, it was only temporary, not for long. So I surveyed my surroundings. Amidst the hazy world, I spotted a massive tree in the distance. Its height reached the clouds, obscured by a thick haze. It was incredible. It was the first time I'd seen such a massive tree. I decided to head there and find a landing spot. Speeding up, I reached the tree's base and landed on a massive leaf. From there, I could see water flowing down from above, like a waterfall. Looking up, the source of the water was barely visible, obscured by the thick mist. Perhaps it was falling from the clouds. Puzzled, I climbed the tree, hoping to find a higher vantage point. Leaping over branches after branches, I soared upwards. A moment later, I spotted several figures above the branches. They were human, with transparent wings behind them. Both men and women. Like spirits, what could they be? I flew towards them. As we approached, they noticed our approach and glanced our way. One of the men said, "You don't look like a resident here, are you human?" Hearing this, I nodded and said, "Yes, as you said, I want to know where this place is." At this time, another woman with a dignified posture hovering in the air said, "This is the world in the deep blue orb. There are several ways to get here." "Did you accidentally enter it in the sea?" "Yes, several companions and I passed through a tunnel and unknowingly entered here," I said truthfully. At this time, my words attracted the attention of those figures, and several similar human figures flew over. "Do you have something to do here?" the woman said. "Yes, it is said that there was a deep-sea money jewel in the waters of the South China Sea. It was stolen by someone, and he did a lot of bad things and captured people. I want to know if this is the place where the creatures were captured." "Yes, it's in that iron tower," the woman stretched out her hand, pointing to the iron tower in the distance. "Really? Why do you all know all this? Do you have a reason to come here?" I asked. "This is the world inside the jewel, and we are the guardian spirits here," the woman said lightly. There was a glow on her body, and she looked really holy and beautiful, not like she was lying. "Then, what those guys did was wrong. Won't you stop them? We are the gods who guard the order here, but the creature who got the orb is the master. The master has restricted us. Unfortunately, we can't help. Then what should we do to defeat it? My companions and I want to rescue the people inside. If you are willing to help, there is indeed hope of defeating the current master here, because you are not like us, the guardian gods here, and are not bound by the master. Tell me, we are willing to help, and I will let several of my companions come together." "Okay, of course, as long as we are near this ascension tree, we can move freely." "Okay," I responded, and then flew down the ascension tree and headed in the direction of the two girls. The two people were not far from here, and I soon came to their side. "Let's go to the ascension tree together. There are some incredible guardian spirits and gods there, is that so?" "Then take us there," Lan Ying said. She extended her hand to me, and I landed. Grabbing her hand and Lan Xin's, I lifted the two of us off into the air, flying towards the ascension tree. They weren't very heavy, so I easily carried them aloft. Before long, we arrived at the ascension tree, and I landed on a low trunk. "This place is truly vast," Lan Ying exclaimed. Then, both of them noticed several elf-like figures in the distance, some clad in green, blue, and multicolored garments. Several gods, shimmering with a faint glow, slowly approached us. "This is gods," Lan Ying and Lan Xin exclaimed. Several gods arrived before us, and a radiant light enveloped the three of us. Surrounding us were a number of guardian spirits, different from the ones we saw. "This is," surrounded by a rainbow of light, countless images flashed through our minds. In that instant, the three of us understood everything about this place, what had happened here. In the blink of an eye, we understood everything. It was truly a sad thing. We had received the memories of the gods, about the recent changes that had occurred in this land. "So that's how it is? This is what you wanted to tell us," I said after a moment. The gods were silent, nodding slightly. Chapter 88 Inside the Iron Tower. We've roughly grasped the situation. Based on the gods' memories, we know something about what's happened here. The land has been occupied. Simply put, the master, having seized the orb, has gained power over this land. While ordinary humans might be fine, the master possesses considerable magical power, allowing him to control them and commit nefarious acts. It's said he's conducting human experiments and casting curses on other creatures, including those in the ocean and nearby humans. This area is relatively close to the water city, so nearby residents occasionally suffer. To resolve this issue, we must enter the tower and find a way to deal with the master. The guardian spirits atop the giant tree are helpless, leaving us as the only ones with a chance of resolving the situation. The tower is dangerous. Are you willing to help us resolve this situation? If you wish to leave, we still have the power to get you out. No need. Since we're already here, let's see it through, I replied. Yes, we will help. After all, we have companions caught up in this. Lan Ying nodded, as did Lan Xin. None of us three had any intention of retreating. Then I'll tell you a good way to get inside that tower, a female guardian spirit said. We stared in silence at the beautiful woman floating in midair. It's not really a method, but it will transport you to the center of the tower. We can easily do it with our power, the woman said. Really? Then let's do it. It'll save us the time of entering the tower, Lan Ying said. We silently agreed. Then please prepare yourself. We'll be inside soon. It's quite dangerous inside, and if you're unlucky, you might encounter enemies right away. No problem, understood. Let's proceed, we said this, and the gods above nodded slightly. Then, surrounded by their light, a white glow enveloped us, forming a circle. From our feet upwards, it enveloped us. In an instant, a white light filled our vision, and the light enveloped us. In that instant, it was gone. After the light faded, we saw a dim scene, surrounded by steel barriers on all sides. It was a large area. According to the gods, this was the center of the tower. Looking around, I saw a large expanse of space, with various houses on either side and a wide path in the middle. I landed lightly on the ground. This place seems quite gloomy, I said. Yes, let's finish our mission quickly and head back, Lan Ying replied. We then walked forward, where a square-like area appeared. We headed towards it. From the looks of it, it looked like it might be the center of the area. We decided to check things out first, as we didn't sense any human presence nearby. After walking for a while, we soon arrived at the central square-like area, filled with flowers and trees, surrounded by a jeweled fence. We walked through the center. As we stepped into the square-like area, the surroundings suddenly changed. The previously dim, basement-like area suddenly became a vibrant blue, with a vast sky and a garden. We couldn't help but wonder if we had left our previous location and were now outside the tower. But this was probably still inside the tower. It's become beautiful again, Lan Ying sighed, gazing at the surrounding scenery. At that moment, the surrounding landscape shifted repeatedly, like clouds, shifting unpredictably. Suddenly, several passageways appeared, and from them emerged several humanoid figures. 6 circular passageways, bathed in light, appeared in all directions, each containing several figures. Everywhere one looked, they were filled with hideous, monstrous faces. It's indeed beautiful, but don't you intruders understand where this is? A voice called out from nowhere. We all heard it, and Lan Ying quickly replied, Isn't this inside the tower? Yes, the interior of the tower is my place. You've come just in time. Let my new generation of subordinates play with you. As soon as she finished speaking, the strangely faced humanoid monsters rushed towards us. This was the beginning of trouble. The 3 of us understood the situation and prepared for battle. I transformed my sword and, with a single slash, sent flying a row of humanoid monsters before me. A man with a cow's face continued to approach, launching a swift kick, only to be sent flying by the azure light from my body. Meanwhile, Lan Xin and Lan Ying each dispatched 3 or 5 bizarre humans. Some looked like genetically mutated hybrids of humans and animals, while others exuded a familiar black aura. I wondered who the master we spoke to earlier was. These creatures have a hint of humanity about them. They might be the missing people. Don't hit them too hard, Lan Ying warned. Although she noticed it, her punches and kicks were far more powerful than ours. A single punch could send a person flying, practically sending them flying. An ordinary person would likely suffer broken bones and be hospitalized. But that was by human standards. Those monsters were different. Their bodies were incredibly sturdy, their speed and strength surpassed those of ordinary humans, each one akin to a combat weapon. I see. Human experiments, is that what you're referring to? Very likely. We need to find the master and give him a good scolding, Lan Ying replied. Then, a laugh echoed from the sky, You're like birds in a cage. Struggle as much as you can. From the sound of it, it seemed the master could see and hear everything we did and said. This was a reasonable assumption, but if it were true, the situation might become more complicated. According to communication with the spirit, to break the bondage here, we must find the master, and it's probably watching us from the shadows. What should we do next? I asked. There are many options, but first, let's observe the terrain. Sister, I hear a lot of human activity down here, Lan Xin said, sensing a human presence. Is that so? The people down there might be those who have disappeared. In that case, we need to find a way to the lower levels, Lan Ying said. We all agreed and continued toward the front of the garden. Along the way, Lan Ying whispered something in Lan Xin's ear. Her voice was so quiet that even the master probably couldn't hear it. Perhaps I hadn't noticed, and the other party wasn't necessarily paying constant attention to us, but I heard it. What a shame there's no telepathy. By this time, Lan Ying and Lan Xin had separated. We continued walking side by side, with me in the middle. After a while, Lan Ying suddenly said, What if, Master, you can see us from everywhere here? What should we do? Anything is fine. I won't dwell on it. I'll find a way, I replied. But I have a good suggestion, Lan Ying said softly. As she spoke, a glow began to emanate from her body, and she chanted a spell at a light, rapid pace. As the sound spread, I could see a faint red and blue light surrounding us, like a barrier enveloping us. We were in the middle of it. Perhaps this place had become a somewhat special space. Can you see it? That way, the Master shouldn't be able to see us. A barrier of red and blue light. Is this something like a barrier? I asked. Can you see it? And even the structure? You're quite capable. I can only see 2 colors. Let's call this a barrier, a life-saving trick our master taught us, Lan Ying explained. Sister's barrier is very precise. The other party shouldn't be able to detect us without great skill, Lan thought to herself. Somewhere in the tower, the master, hidden in the darkness, could no longer sense the presence of the 3 people, as if the signal on the channel they were connected to had gone dead. Neither sight nor sound could be heard. It was as if they had been transferred to a channel they couldn't search. There was no point in seriously trying to find them, but even so, it didn't matter. The master simply sat quietly, watching the situation unfold. We headed towards the distant tower staircase. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 89, Towards the Upper Level. We continued along the grassland road, advancing and advancing until we reached its end. There was an exit. Passing through the door, we came upon a staircase. One led upward, the other downward. A vast, wide iron staircase, once again dimly lit, perhaps due to the dramatic change in the surroundings after passing through a specific area. According to the plan, we should go down, but the stairs leading up have also appeared. I think we should reconsider this, Lan Ying said. The upside might be where the master is staying, and the downside is a dungeon, Lan Xin said. Your perception is strong, so this should be correct. So what should we do? I asked, overhearing their conversation. I'll go down, and you guys go up, Lan Ying said. Are you going down alone? I said. Yes, I'm adept at acting alone. So, let's part ways, Lan Ying said, waving us gently and returning to the lower stairs. Really? Be careful, we nodded and headed towards the upper stairs. Splitting up is a good idea, I thought. The girl looked more mature than Lan Xin, so she should be fine. We continued up the dim tower, ascending. The stairs were white and gleaming, with wide spans. We walked for a long time, like climbing a mountain, until we finally saw light around a nearby corner. The exit was not far away. We continued up the stairs, passing through the upper doors one after another. What appeared before us was the sky, a vast expanse of sky, and directly above it, a dark shadow loomed thickly. Above us stood a massive structure. A closer look revealed what it was. Is that part of the tower? Lan Xin asked. Yes, but it's actually floating in the air, I said. A closer look revealed that the tower above us was the upper floors. We were roughly in the center of the tower. From this perspective, it seemed as if each floor of the tower had its own airborne area. It was enormous, like a fortress in the sky. I hadn't noticed it before, or perhaps it hadn't happened. Now the tower seemed to be floating, slowly drifting, as if on magnetic levitation. Above us, we could see crystal slabs floating in mid-air, like stairs, one above the other, eventually leading to the upper floors. It seems we have to climb those crystal stairs to reach the higher levels, I said. It seems so, Lan Xin nodded in agreement. With that, we all headed towards the crystal staircase. The crystal slabs had no handrails, and the gaps between them were quite large, making it difficult to navigate. It was fine at first, but after a while, we realized the height below was quite high. If we weren't careful, we could fall out of the tower. It was estimated to be over 1,000 meters high, and a fall could be fatal. Despite this, we remained unmoved. The view below was truly beautiful, or so we thought. But completing this mission was paramount. As we continued walking, Lan Xin suddenly leaped onto a slab and sounded the alarm. The crystal slab suddenly plummeted downwards at high speed. Slightly startled, Lan Xin immediately jumped up and headed towards the next slab above. It was 4 blocks away from me, with quite good jumping ability. It was fortunate that it ended like this. After the alarm sounded, several figures appeared in the air from all directions, approaching us. They were all humanoid, dark blue in color, with a pair of wings on their backs. They approached from the sky not far away. "We've found a thief, right over there," shouted a dark blue bird-shaped guard. Then, several figures in the air noticed us and approached us, weapons in hand. Judging from their momentum, this was not a friendly move. They were about to use their weapons to confront us. One of the dark blue guards approached Lan Xing and swung his club, but Lan Xing dodged and then kicked him, sending him flying 5 meters away, his body unstable in the air. The two dark blue guards facing me were both deflected by the green light emitted from my palm. They didn't seem to be particularly strong enemies. But our few attacks weren't enough to put an end to them. Quickly adjusting our positions, we split into 2 waves. 3 deep blue guards came towards me, 2 towards Lan Xing. The 3 guards attacked me from different directions. With only a single crystal plate beneath my feet, I soared into the air, deflecting their attacks. Then, I condensed the cyan orange energy in my hand, transforming it into a sword and slashing the 2 guards below with a blast of light. The impact sent them flying, and a follow-up blow sent the 3rd flying as well. One of the guards fell, while the other 2's forms were distorted by the impact. The water patterns on their bodies became tangled, and parts of their bodies dissolved into water, scattering like a snake shedding its skin. Another's body structure collapsed under the impact, disintegrating into water and scattering to the ground below. Lan Xing's side also ended the battle. Her skills were exceptional, and she instantly knocked the deep blue guards down from the sky. "Have we been spotted?" I asked, approaching Lan Xing. "Well, that barrier prevents distant enemies from sensing us, but enemies close by can still see us," Lan Xing replied. "Really? Then let's keep going. Those crystal plates are floating around, and we might run into trouble. So, I'll take you to the top of that staircase," I said, and Lan Xing nodded slightly. With her in tow, I, aided by the cyan red cloud, flew upward, gently following the path of crystal plates. Before long, we reached the entrance to the passageway leading to the next level. A faint light shone there, and we headed towards it. Passing through the entrance, we entered a passageway. After walking a short distance, we could see a blue landscape ahead. It was the blue sky and the deep blue sea. Arriving at the coastal path, the sea stretched endlessly as far as the eye could see. A bridge stretched across it, like a road on the sea, perfectly organized and orderly. This was the environment of this level, with numerous paths stretching out like a net across the sea. This was completely different from the previous floor, perhaps one of the tower's unique features. From here, all we see is the ocean. "Shouldn't we cross that path over the sea and get to the other side?" I said. "That's right. Let's see if there's anything special here. Perhaps the owner is on this floor," Lan Xing said. "Indeed, in that case, let's set off as soon as possible." With that, we crossed a coastal path leading to the sea and headed towards the sea path leading to the ocean. Chapter 90 Maritime Road. In the beautiful city of Water City, between the 16th and 18th districts south of the New Century City, a legend circulates at night. Beneath Water City lies an undefeated fighting king. His undefeated record has alarmed the duelists underground, making him a beloved and popular figure. He's known as the Iron-Faced Ghost God. In the underground arena, his specialty is to instantly defeat his foes, whether they be beasts or mighty men. The outcome is the same. The mask he wears is also a popular item, commonly found in shops across the city, yet no one has ever seen the true nature beneath it. Lan Xing and I followed the path of the sea. No matter what we did, we had to move forward. The probability of the master being on the upper levels was high, leaving us with no choice. We headed towards the path leading to the sea. The scenery was indeed beautiful. However, not far away, the figures of deep blue bird-like guards stood guard. Seeing them meant we were in trouble, but it also meant we were on the right path. "That one up ahead," I gazed into the distance. Lan Xing nodded, understanding. We had entered the deep blue guard search area. Upon noticing our presence, they engaged without hesitation, a fight erupting. Several deep blue guards engaged us. We had a significant advantage in strength, but this was their territory. After quickly resolving the battle, we sped forward. Staying here too long would likely lead to further trouble, and being surrounded by new enemies, a possibility that would arise. We had no choice but to reach the end of this tower or find its owner as quickly as possible. Beyond that, we could only take one step at a time. Unaware of what might await us, We simply ran. No need for words, the task was clear. In that seawater path, something would occasionally erupt from the surrounding waters. Sometimes it was fish, sometimes it was an enemy, the deep blue guards. They seemed to react to the terrain we passed through, leaping from the water to block our path. Thieves, don't even think about passing through here. We'll drive you all out, a deep blue guard said. The rest, numbering no fewer than a dozen, rushed forward. A fight was inevitable, and they circled ahead to block our path. Your master, do you understand what he's doing? I said. We understand without you having to tell us. The master's orders are absolute. We're driving you out. Don't you know that the master is no longer the same master he once was? Your order is simply to obey the master's orders. For invading thieves, what we do is always the same, the deep blue guard said. Is that so? The gem, known as the core of the world, has been stolen by someone. I'm afraid you won't believe it, bewildered beings, I added. Go ahead, the deep blue guard said. Without saying anything, the black sword materialized in my hand, ready to meet the enemy. Lan Xing did the same. The next moment, the deep blue guards charged in droves, vying to defeat us head-on. I leaped to my feet, the black sword in my hand gleaming with light. I charged forward, piercing through the group of dark blue guards like an arrow. Wherever I passed, they were impacted, thrown back, and some fell into the sea. Now's the time to move, I called to Lan Xing. She dodged a dark blue guard, stepped on their shoulder mid-air, and leaped towards me. Damn! What powerful bandits! It seems we won't be able to subdue them with our strength. Seeing this, a dark blue guard fled in another direction. We didn't care. Now that the enemy had vanished, the only path was to continue. We continued along the sea path, the sky still clear. However, the sea ahead gradually became less calm. Ripples rose in all directions, and waves crashed in, one after another, heading towards us, like a massive current determined to stop us from moving forward. It seemed that it couldn't be wrong. Perhaps it was some kind of ability, or perhaps the power of its master. Lan Xing, are we okay with the huge waves ahead? It's okay, I'm a whale, we said in unison. Lan Xing excelled in the water, so that would make it easier for me, perhaps even flying over the waves. Even so, for a moment, I took Lan Xing with me into the air. It was better to avoid the impact head-on. Making a split-second judgment, I grabbed Lan Xing's hand, and we both soared into the air, soaring high above the waves. Gazing at the astonishing waves below, it was truly unusual and spectacular, even if it was intended to hinder us. We continued to advance along the waves. At that moment, several figures emerged from the layers of waves. They were all dark blue guards, and they immediately attacked us, each armed. It was difficult for Lan Xing and I to fight together. With one hand supporting Lan Xing, the other holding a sword, the enemy wasn't particularly strong, so I dispatched several with my light slash. Despite Lan Xing's airborne limitations, she managed to scatter the advancing guards with her roar. The shock caused the guard structure to collapse, disintegrating into a stream of scattered water. Soon after, we landed at a sea intersection, unable to remain airborne for long. Thieves, you will be captured here, said a deep blue guard not far away. We were standing at a sea crossing, and at that moment, numerous blue figures were climbing up from the shore, leaping over the guardrails and appearing one after another. Thieves? I didn't take anything from you, I responded. Nonsense. Be prepared for trespassing here, really? Is this your etiquette for welcoming outsiders? I asked, gazing at the guards. Hearing this, the guard snorted, his eyes flushed. There's no point in talking to you. Indeed, there was no point. In this situation, we could only rely on our strength to carve a path forward. I didn't explain much, nor did I have any reason to convince them. The monsters around us were fishman-like creatures, different from the deep blue guards. They looked quite massive, similar to the mutants from before. At the distant guard's words, the surrounding monsters rushed towards us. I gathered energy on my black sword and swung it out. The cyan slash, following the blade's trajectory, formed a crescent-shaped impact, sweeping across the row of monsters ahead. They were all sent flying off the sea path and into the sea. Let's go, I said, and then Lan Xing and I headed forward, running, dispatching the enemies who stood in our way. Our numbers, resistance, and strength were considerable, though we could be dangerous if we weren't careful, but we were still superior in strength. We each sent a blocking guard flying away. We cleared a path through the intersection and headed deeper into the depths. Idiots, that's all, We crossed the intersection and arrived at a small, circular area on another side road that looked like a rest stop. It was surrounded by steel fences in a large, circular area. As we entered, the gate behind us was suddenly sealed by an iron fence. The voice came at that moment. The dark blue guard, not far above, looked down at us, his expression as if certain he had us under control. "Show yourself, great slime monster," the dark blue guard shouted, and a light blue figure suddenly emerged from the sea beneath the ground. Its immense size immediately splashed a torrent of water, seeping through the iron bars. Two pairs of enormous, light blue, transparent hands grasped the bars before us, and the massive monster slowly climbed out of the water. We soon saw the massive, slime-like monster outside the bars. We stared at the monster like birds in a cage. It seemed there wasn't enough room for the massive figure to enter. Such a problem was solved in the blink of an eye. The massive, watery monster, its body like water, seeped through the bars and passed through. It then reached us, its massive mouth wide open and roaring. Suddenly, the steel cage surrounding our area was shrouded in blue. A film of water covered the outside of the birdcage. This was the scene we saw. "Now you can't escape. Accept your fate," the deep blue guard shouted. It then also seeped through the cage from outside, reaching our very presence. Those water-bodied guards seemed to be able to effortlessly navigate the barrier between water and the cage. Chapter 91 In the Water Cage. The gigantic slime monster before us gradually approached us, and the surrounding dark blue guards appeared from all directions. The iron bars were useless against them. Now we were trapped. I immediately swung my sword at the water cage. The cyan impact slanted past, striking the cage in a single line. Instantly, the light slash was neutralized by the water barrier. A faint shimmering light appeared on the barrier, and then there was no movement. My attack seemed completely ineffective. "It's useless. We are the only ones who can freely enter and exit this water barrier," said a dark blue guard. Then another guard said, "Swallow them, slime monster." The giant slime monster nearby responded with another roar, opening its maw and rushing towards us. Even though the monster had no legs and relied solely on its body to move, it was incredibly fast. I'm afraid the wave-like water beneath it was responsible for this, boosting its speed. Seeing this, I once again aimed my sword at the incoming giant monster and struck it. With a sideways strike, the black sword pierced the monster's body upon contact. However, my sword failed to inflict any damage, its swift strike slicing through its body, sending only a few drops of water flying. The giant water monster remained unmoved, its entire body bearing down on me like a wave, as if to cover me. I quickly moved to the side, narrowly avoiding the attack. But the attack wasn't over yet. The water monster swung its right hand, unleashing several massive water bullets that pelted me, striking me instantly. The impact of the water bullets sent me repelling a distance. Although it was only water, it was powerful, almost as strong as a bullet. I blocked it with my sword, taking no significant damage. "Very good, keep going like this," a deep blue guard shouted from a distance above. The surrounding guards all charged at me. I blocked a blow from a guard in front of me and sent it flying. In the blink of an eye, I was struck in the back by a guard attacking from behind. This wasn't going to be an easy fight. I knew it clearly at that moment. In a flash, I withstood the blow, turned and punched another guard. Then, with my sword, I slashed and sent another guard flying from the side. The enemies kept coming. Rather than wasting time here, I should think about how to escape. From what I saw just now, the water barrier was most likely created by the slime monster. Perhaps I should defeat it first. As I thought so, the deep blue guards surrounded me one after another, leaving me no time to worry about the monster. Now the giant slime monster seemed to notice my companion, Xingze, and Xingze was also aware of the giant creature. The two locked eyes, and instantly, Xingze sent a mid-kick sending the dark blue guard attacking from the side flying. She followed the direction of the slime monster, sprinting away, and the monster followed suit, chasing the girl. The giant slime monster extended its enormous light blue palm and swept it towards the girl. Xingze leaped up, unleashing a supersonic blast from its mouth, cutting off the monster's hand. The monster then surged forward, its massive body like a wave, leaving the mid-air girl with nowhere to hide. In an instant, the blue body enveloped Xingze. In an instant, the monster's immense, transparent aquamarine form engulfed Xingze, enveloping her. In that instant, Xingze felt as if she were drowning in the ocean. Trapped in the center of the monster's body, just above its abdomen. If it were seawater, she could simply swim out, but this was different from ordinary seawater. It was thick and viscous. The water was incredibly sticky, and once trapped, even swimming out was incredibly difficult. Lanzin, I watched from the side as the girl struggled slightly within the monster's body. I exerted even more strength, knocking down several guards. Time was of the essence, and I immediately charged towards the giant monster. Stepping on the crimson cloud, I slipped through the gaps in the crowd and stabbed the monster's belly with my sword. The dazzling flash of my sword instantly opened a gap in the monster's abdomen, allowing me to cut through it and escape. However, the next moment, the monster's massive palm swooped down, slamming down onto its abdomen with a loud thud, blocking my escape route. It felt like a water prison. My body suddenly became unable to move. The immense pressure of the water restricted my movements, making it impossible to escape. At that moment, I understood Lanzin's predicament, but the situation was now extremely difficult. Ha! That idiot ran into the giant slime monster's belly. How foolish, but that guy just slashed my body with a sword, a guard said, mockingly. And that girl, she actually kicked my sacred body with her bare feet, a deep blue guard said. It seems they need to be punished, another guard said. The deep blue guard stood before us, watching us struggle. Struggle, it's painful, scream, I want to hear that sound. We were struggling in the giant slime monster's belly, breathing was difficult, and screaming was probably a bit difficult. At this moment, I looked at Lanzin, as if sensing what she was about to do, and tilted my head to look. She reached out and pointed a finger toward her ear, indicating something, probably asking me to cover my ears. If so, I did as she said. Instantly, I looked back at Lanzin, indicating that everything was fine, with my eyes. Seeing this, Lanzin took a deep breath, and his entire body was suddenly bathed in a faint blue glow, even his hair glowing. A roar erupted like an explosion. The astonishing, immensely powerful sound waves spread in all directions, shaking the surrounding land and sea. What is this? What did that girl do? A nearby guard covered his ears and exclaimed in shock. It's so noisy. What's going on? Big slime monster, find a solution, a guard said reluctantly. The deep blue guards, under the influence of the sound waves, showed signs of fatigue and looked utterly shattered. Their bodies gradually began to break apart, dripping like melting ice. Damn it! I'm melting, how could this be? A mere sound. Life is so fragile and ethereal, like water, like a cloud. As the deep blue guards spoke, they gradually dissolved into water and scattered to the ground. Rest assured, everyone. And the great slime monster, we've always been one. There's no other way. Let's work together to take down those two thieves. The deep blue guards transformed into water one after another, but the essence of their water forms all moved toward the great slime monster, transforming into shimmering water particles that coalesced around the massive monster. That'll defeat them, a deep blue guard said, merging with the slime monster once again. The slime monster had grown even larger, its binding force even stronger than before. Unbelievable unity at a time like this? Seriously, I said. At that moment, my body was enveloped in a cyan-orange glow, which helped block the external water flow. Sound had little effect on me to begin with. Hold on a little longer, and we can finish them off, said another deep blue guard, who then merged with the slime monster. The binding force of the water around us had indeed grown stronger, but Blue Heart's roar continued. Furthermore, the water around her center began to generate a strange wave, like a crack. As the faint blue light rippled, the body of the giant slime monster gradually swelled up after a while, and then burst open when it reached a critical point, turning into countless water splashes that splashed around. As the water prison collapsed, we landed on the ground one after another. Your sense of responsibility is really admirable, but did you get something wrong? I said and confirmed the situation with Lanzin. After it seemed that there was no problem, we continued to move forward towards the road ahead. Under the roar, the iron bars had been twisted, and we could easily pass through there and move towards the next road. How could it be? The guard who collapsed on the ground said with his dying breath. Chapter 92 Guard in the Tower. We passed the cage-like area and headed towards the path leading to the sea. Far ahead, as far as my eyes could see, the mist was hazy, and the shadow of a mountain could be vaguely seen. That was likely the path to the next level. We ran relentlessly, pausing briefly when there was no trace of pursuers. We continued at a normal pace, observing our surroundings, undecided about where to go next. The girl beside me, Lan Xin remained silent, but she didn't look lost. She continued forward, and even as she walked, I could tell she understood. Lan Xin, do you know where we're headed? I asked. There, Lan Xin pointed her little hand somewhere in the distant mountains. Is that the path to the next level? Lan Xin nodded and said, probably. We're heading to the very top of the tower. The very top. When you say we're going there, you mean we're going to find out where the master is, right? I asked. Yes, the voice just reached the top of the tower, and I can sense it. Up there are the people we're looking for, including the master, Lan Xin said. Really? If you put it that way, then we can't be wrong. Let's get going as quickly as possible. Okay, we exchanged a few words, then casually quickened our pace again, continuing forward along the sea path. Perhaps our stamina was not a problem, as we ran at a steady pace. Our direction was clear. When we encountered forks or bends, we didn't follow the path, but leaped directly over them. We approached at the fastest speed and the shortest distance possible, avoiding any interference along the way. That was unlikely. As we sped along, we encountered several waves of deep blue guards along the way. However, we ignored them, unaware of their numbers, and simply outpaced them. Now, nothing could stop us. Damn, what kind of speed are those two guys? Complained the deep blue guards behind us. Behind us, a group of guards soared in midair, pursuing us. This was no time for jokes, and we pushed forward with unwavering determination, heading towards our target. This iron tower has 9 floors. Initially, the 3 of us reached the 5th, the central level. After that, Lan Xin and I ascended to the 6th floor, while Lan Ying reached the 4th. We quickly reached the 3rd floor, a dimly lit area surrounded by numerous cells, lined up on both sides of the road. This was presumably where the prisoners were kept. Upon reaching this point, Lan Ying could already see some of the prisoners held in the pitch-black cells, but whether they were actually prisoners remained a question. Before the time was up, several masked guards emerged from the surrounding black shadows, each armed with weapons, ropes, chains, handcuffs, whips, and other forms of imprisonment. Intruder, I thought you'd escaped somewhere. Are you here? We had reports of you on the 4th floor, one of the masked guards said. Is that so? There's grassland above, and a prison below, Lan Ying asked. Indeed, I'll take you in as well, the masked guard said. Lan Ying sneered, and the guards rushed forward, some throwing ropes, others swinging chains. Lan Ying leaped free, her agility so impressive that the ropes, chains, and nets could not capture the girl. With a few leaps, Lan Ying stepped over the bodies of the others and advanced further. The young woman's figure sped forward, her pursuers struggling to match her speed. With her agility, she scaled walls and spun around with ease, quickly passing through a prison street and arriving in a dimly lit town. Damn it, that thing. She's definitely not going to get away, the pursuers, though unable to catch up with the girl, grumbled. Of course, this wasn't a threat. The tower was heavily guarded. Guards stocked the prison in other areas. They could appear anywhere, so how could a single girl like her escape? The tower's owner has ordered us to capture the 3 intruders? Yes, but it's not a problem. The direction the girl was heading is guarded by stronger forces. I'm afraid she's courting death, a guard said. Indeed, she's lucky to be caught by us. The guards on the prison street had halted, as the thieves had already escaped their range. Lan Ying continued forward, following the town's roads. The area around her was dark and deserted, a seemingly deserted place. Lan Xin thought this was probably where the prisoners were hanging out. So, since it was rest time and no one was around, it made sense. As they advanced, Lan Ying saw figures slowly emerging from both sides of the road, one after another, emerging from the desolate houses. Lan Ying had seen these creatures before, as monstrous humanoids, when she had first entered the tower. They had humanoid forms, but their skin and faces were strange. Some had blue skin and fish faces, while others had faces so bizarre they were hard to describe. Lan Ying considered that they might be her own kind, but that wasn't the case. She soon realized that these strange figures were all chasing them. It's the master's order to kill that girl. No, the best case scenario is to capture her alive. No, she must be captured alive, several of the strange figures discussed among themselves. But as long as we're alive, that's all that matters. Let's go all out. As they discussed this, more strange figures rushed forward, both in front and behind. Unable to avoid a fight, Lan Ying stepped forward to confront the oncoming strange figures, sweeping them with a single kick, tripping them all to the ground. She quickly continued forward, only to find the enemy already ambushed ahead. As Lan Ying rounded the corner, waves of men emerged from the rooftops, windows, and obstacles of multiple buildings, all intent on surrounding her target. Enemies surrounded her on all sides. The strange figure possessed superior abilities and patience. She had no idea how this creature had appeared, but at this point, she didn't have time to worry. Lan Ying punched and kicked the attackers from above, then leaped into the air and landed on the rooftop. Immediately, she advanced along the eaves, leaving the guards ambushed below with no way of catching her. She continued to scramble, climbing walls and walls, advancing further. If the guards were right, then there must be many more prisoners held here and deeper below. Locating their whereabouts was one of Lan Ying's priorities. So, she had to do her utmost to find them, a thorough search. With this thought in mind, Lan Ying continued to advance deeper into the darkness, leaping over buildings several times. Pursuers followed her, including numerous mutants and soaring, deep blue guards. Though those families pursued the girl, their capabilities were insufficient to stop her at full speed. Suddenly, in the dim town, a massive black figure emerged from a tall clock tower not far from Lan Ying. Like a humanoid cannon, it suddenly struck, its speed catching Lan Ying off guard. She was struck from the side. Although unable to dodge, she managed to block the blow with her hand. Even so, the impact sent her flying a distance, nearly falling from the roof. Standing atop a nearby building, she saw a humanoid figure clad in pitch black. Its massive form, over 2 meters tall and built like a mecha, possessed even greater strength. In the dim town, the light from the tower gradually began to shine. The enemy could be seen, a tapered face, cylindrical limbs, and dark skin. "You're not human, are you?" Lan Ying asked. "You are not human either. I am the guardian of the Iron Tower, and I have been ordered to subdue you," the guardian of the Iron Tower said. "Come if you have the ability." "Justice will prevail," Lan Ying responded, her gaze focused on the enemy not far above. Chapter 93 Under the Tower. The Tower Guardian leaped from the building above, stepping on a mid-air rock and heading straight for the girl not far below. Instantly, Lan Ying took a running start and leaped into the air. At high speed, the two collided in mid-air, elbows and feet clashing. A sudden, intense impact shook the very air. Upon contact, the two landed, each landing on the other side of the building. "Amazing. Are you also the type to follow your master's orders?" Lan Ying said. "I protect this tower, that's my mission." With those two words, the two launched themselves again, both leaping over the building. Fists and kicks clashed again. While suspended in midair, Lan Ying launched an initial strike, but was repelled. Responding with a powerful blow, she blocked it with her arm. The two clashed for a moment before falling to the ground again. Lan Ying pinned the Tower Guardian, landing on the ground. She quickly leaped off the Tower Guardian, who stood up as if nothing had happened. "I have other things to do right now, so I don't have time to play with you," Lan Ying said, then began to walk away. "That's impossible. If you want to get through, you have to get past me first," the Tower Guardian said calmly. A faint glow emanated from its body, and the building in front of Lan Ying suddenly collapsed. It looked that way, but the building's materials quickly disintegrated, forming a barrier blocking Lan Ying's path. "Is this your ability?" Lan Ying asked. "I am the Tower Guardian, and this is also part of the tower. The power of restraint allows me to control a part of the tower. It's nothing strange. This is a part of me, and I will conquer you here, I see. Then I can only accompany you to this end," Lan Ying said. Her hands were then engulfed in blue light, transformed, like the wings of a whale. They were covered in a layer of blue crystals. This allowed her to unleash even greater potential power. The two understood each other immediately. The Tower Guardian touched the ground with one palm, and a plate suddenly lifted from the ground, striking Lan Ying like a wave. Seeing this, Lan Ying leaped forward, instantly engulfed by the massive stone slab. It transformed into a polygonal shape, then a square. But in that instant, the stone shattered, and a young woman emerged from it. Lan Ying confronted the Iron Tower Guardian, and the two exchanged blows and kicks again. During the collision, each grabbed hold of the other's body. Lan Ying, who was at a disadvantage, looked like the one being grabbed. "This is the final blow, Iron Ball Hell." The Iron Tower Guardian's body suddenly glowed with a dark light, and a black aura enveloped it. The black barrier formed a large circular space, enclosing the two within. The black barrier was filled with long, sharp iron spikes. Lan Ying sensed something was amiss. The barrier instantly began to contract inward, implying that the spikes were about to pierce through her body. Facing the black spikes attacking from all directions and the one before her, there was no escape. Lan Ying desperately fought, her entire body radiating a faint blue light. After taking a deep breath, she roared. I'd heard it before. Lan Xing had roared, too. It happened not long ago, and now it was her turn. A fierce impact rippled outward, showering the countless stinger bees condensing within the sphere. The sphere, encompassing every angle, was shattered by Lan Ying's voice. The sound seeped through the sphere and spread outward, even affecting the surrounding buildings. It was an incredible, magical sound. The sphere continued to shrink inward, seemingly reaching the point of penetrating the two people within. In that instant, the sphere, compressed to its limit, exploded, its fragments scattering in all directions with a blue shockwave. A massive sound echoed throughout the space. On the dimly lit town streets, the guards who had arrived later saw a young girl standing in the middle of the dilapidated street. Her blue hair still shone faintly, and the air was filled with scattered blue crystal fragments. Beside her was the shattered Iron Tower Guardian, lying silently beside the girl. Being attacked by the girl's sonic waves in such a completely enclosed environment would certainly not be unharmed, as it would affect her own body. Your power, how come you're okay? The Iron Tower Guardian said slowly, his voice deep. Some powers are purely destructive, perhaps double-edged swords, but ours are not. This sound will not harm our companions, Lan Ying said, and she walked away from the Iron Tower Guardian. Shocked by the powerful sound, the Iron Tower Guardian lay silently on the ground, motionless. Lan Ying followed, heading deeper into the dim town, pursued by the pursuers. The game of chase continued. As she continued forward, Lan Ying's appearance gradually returned to her former self. Soon, she was sprinting through the dim town and into deeper darkness. There lay a narrow road, flanked by barriers on either side. Lan Ying swiftly followed it, a downhill path that made walking easy. In a blink of an eye, she passed through a passageway and arrived at a deep prison. Numerous cells lined the grounds, each filled with the presence of human beings. Lan Ying could sense that, despite the pitch-black darkness, this place undoubtedly held people brought here from unknown sources. She couldn't fathom what they were doing there, or what crimes had led them there, but she could do much. Not far ahead, she sensed the presence of several familiar figures, perhaps people she had met before. She decided to head for their location first. Running, she soon arrived in front of the prison. She stopped there, then gazed toward the cell to the side. A faint, blue glow of a girl appeared before her. A dim light illuminated the prison, and the prisoners inside noticed who was outside. They all slowly rose and walked to the iron bars. Who are you? You don't look human here, a muscular man, about 6 feet tall, asked, his hand resting on the bars. Girl? You're quite small, but why are you here? What are you doing? Another man with a mohawk stepped forward and asked. Several others, drawn to the mysterious girl before them, also stepped forward to observe. Her shimmering blue hair and pupils, her body like a sapphire crystal in the darkness, captivated the inmates. Are you here to rescue us? One asked. I do, but before that, I want to ask you a question. Is that okay? Lan Ying said. Please tell me, why are you in prison here? I and many of the others here with us were captured near the underground dueling arena, the man replied, and the others nearby agreed. The underground dueling arena, yes, it's the underground dueling arena located in the Water City area of the New Century capital. Although it's a legend, it does exist, and many people gamble there, the man continued. I see. Why were you caught? That's because we humans are illegal immigrants from all over the place. Those people probably want to catch us and use us as experimental rats, or do other horrible things. We really don't want to stay here. It's really unfortunate. Yeah, we really shouldn't have built a place like the underground dueling arena at that time. Is that the case? Then that's the case with the missing persons that were reported not long ago, Lan Ying said. Without a doubt, Lan Ying nodded, then reached out to touch the iron railing. When her hand was about to touch the steel, a blue electric current flashed, blocking the girl's outstretched hand. Be careful. There's an electric barrier outside the cage, designed to prevent us from escaping. Yes, the current strength could kill someone, and the switch is nowhere to be found. It's a completely baffling place, the prisoners said. Lan Ying's slender hands were now covered in a thick layer of blue leather. The deep blue resembled whale skin, yet it shone with a strange luster. Instantly, The young woman's hands passed through the electric barrier and reached the steel cage. Grasping the bars with both hands, she pulled them apart like curtains. Oh, it's open. A hole had appeared in the prison cage. Lan Ying had made it. The prisoners emerged one after another, exclaiming in disbelief. Chapter 94, Meeting the Tower Guardian Again. The prisoners emerged one after another, nodding in gratitude to Lan Ying. At that moment, several figures appeared nearby. They were the guards within the tower, seemingly alarmed by their actions. This was perfectly normal. They were already on high alert. Now, even more so, it was only natural that this would happen. You're truly remarkable. Such a small body, yet possessing such power. It reminds me of someone, a tall man nearby said. What do you recall? Lan Ying replied. The legend of the nighttime underground fighting king in the Water City region, the tall man said. Yes, that person. There's indeed a resemblance, someone nearby said. Lan Ying had all connected them to that person, and the reality, as they said, was that the man who had once been undefeated in the underground fighting arena now stood before them. I'm a fan of that person, too. I came here to see her. And this is what happened, one person said. Me too, another person pulled a white, floral mask inscribed with incantations from his pocket. It was a replica of the mask the fighting king had always worn. You're carrying something like this, someone nearby remarked. Several people seemed to have a certain level of fascination with the fighting king. Alright, the enemy's coming. Get out of here, Lan Ying said. That's right. This is terrible. We've finally escaped. Realizing they had escaped their prison, everyone broke into a run, heading deeper into the cell. Pursuers from behind quickly closed in on Lan Ying and the others. The girl, possessing the best skills among them, quickly grasped the situation. The number of people imprisoned in this tower was so great that she couldn't count them all in a short time. Saving them was likely impossible. The first priority was to defeat the tower's owner, for he was the root cause. Regardless, Lan Ying determined that her only target was the owner. That was the clearest thing. Now that the other two had passed, Lan Ying's own mission had become more or less clear. All that remained was to return to the two men, who were likely heading in the direction of their master. The next step should be to consider how to rejoin them. In a moment, several guards nearby attacked, but Lan Ying was easily defeated. She then headed deeper into this level. Unfortunately, she no longer had time to worry about the others. First, she found the path leading to the upper levels. The roar she had unleashed earlier confirmed her direction. As she advanced, she caught up with the people who had been far ahead of her. Weren't you caught just now? Weren't you surrounded by those guards earlier? Several people who saw the young Lan Ying said, I'm their primary target, but I'm a bit confident I can escape their grasp. It's best if you don't follow me, Lan Ying said as she passed them at a breakneck pace, heading further ahead. However, not far ahead, at the 60-degree turn, a subtle vibration could be heard, as if something was rapidly approaching. Suddenly, a dark figure emerged from the nearby wall. It was the Iron Tower Guardian, massive, made entirely of steel, with a massive, strong body and a conical head. It suddenly struck Lan Ying with a punch, a surprise attack from the wall. Lan Ying blocked the blow with her hand, but it was so heavy that she was forced back a long distance. Lan Ying couldn't help but say, looking at the figure before her. At that moment, the surrounding walls collapsed, blocking the way ahead. Those arriving from behind were all surprised, while some felt despair, for they all knew the Guardian. He was someone they absolutely could not afford to offend. Oh no. It's the Tower Guardian, it's over. We're doomed after encountering this guy, several people said in quick succession. The Tower Guardian, looking at the girl before him, said, Did you think I was defeated in that dark town? What a shame. I'm not that fragile. As long as this tower remains intact, my power will not diminish. This, Lan Ying said, understanding the situation. Then the Tower Guardian pressed forward, pinning Lan Ying against the wall with both hands in all her strength. Not long ago, in the center of the dark town, struck by a powerful sonic wave, the Tower Guardian was knocked to the ground. Its body, shattered by the violent vibrations, lay amidst the rubble. The surrounding dust, mud, and debris transformed into energy, constantly flowing into its body. As it absorbed it, its body gradually recovered. Then, it rose from the rubble, dirt, and stones. As it had said, as long as this tower remained, it would be difficult to destroy. Of course, The first thing to do was to reach the girl's location and put an end to her. Just like that, the Iron Tower Guardian once again arrived before Lan Ying. "Is that so?" Lan Ying asked. Her figure suddenly glowed with a blue light, her hair turning azure blue as she chanted a spell. Instantly, the Iron Tower Guardian felt the girl it had held captive become as cold as running water and then fall away. Upon closer inspection, the girl vanished, leaving only the falling water. In other words, she had transformed into a puddle of water. This was the scene the Iron Tower Guardian saw. The Iron Tower Guardian couldn't help but search back and forth for her target. "I'm here," Lan Ying reminded her from a distance. Lan Ying was now standing on the pile of rubble that the Iron Tower Guardian had previously used as a barrier to block the passage. She slowly pulled out a mask from behind and put it on her face. It was a strange mask engraved with patterns and Sanskrit mantras. The Iron Tower Guardian turned and saw the girl. Indeed, on the pile of rubble it had previously collapsed. It was used to block those who tried to escape. And she should be able to escape by taking advantage of that opening. "Isn't that the Fighting King's mask?" a participant in the underground dueling arena nearby said. "Indeed, I thought that girl looked like her before. Could she be the real one?" a man who possessed a replica of the Fighting King mask asked. "Is the mysterious Fighting King actually that girl?" someone exclaimed in surprise. "That's right. I am the invincible Fighting King in that underground arena, nicknamed the Iron-Faced Devil. Today, I'm helping you clear a path as an apology." Lan Ying said this. Her masked expression shifted slightly. The next moment, she stomped her foot on the ground, and the pile of rocks beneath her feet collapsed under her stomping foot. The rubble scattered everywhere, and the once mountainous rock mass was now broken apart. This meant the path ahead was open again. Fighting King, seeing this, the people behind them understood. This would allow them to escape. Many cheered in support of her move. "Thinking of letting those prisoners escape? You won't succeed." Seeing this, the Tower Guardian waved his arm, pointing his palm toward the pile of rocks. In a faint, dim light, the shattered and scattered stones began to float. Orderly and swift, they formed a star-like pattern in the sky. Suddenly, they rushed towards Lan Ying from all directions. Not only the existing rubble, but also new stone ripped from the wall, at least twice as much as before. As if burying the girl alive, the rubble suddenly overwhelmed her. Suddenly, an unusual energy emanated from the girl. A blue glow and a blue roar, visible to the naked eye, formed a whirlwind that swept away the incoming debris. The Fighting King stood still, motionless. The people around him could only see the scattering and falling rubble. The Tower Guardian continued to stare at her silently, while Lan Ying also kept an eye on the monster. Neither of them thought it would end there, and it looked like the second round was about to begin. Chapter 95 Fierce Fight. On the 6th floor of the Iron Tower, a vast, unimaginable space covered by the sea, Lan Xin and I were advancing along the sea path, advancing continuously, heading towards the passage leading to the upper levels. Along the way, we encountered numerous deep blue guards, each of whom was quite formidable, as if controlled by magic. Perhaps this was one of the characteristics of this place. Dark blue armored humanoids, the guardians of the sea, would detect our presence and surge out of the water whenever we reached a certain area. We weren't formidable foes, but their relentless attacks and endurance were certainly a significant problem. The monsters had their own mission, and no matter what it was, they obeyed. Now, we were surmounting the heavy wall of guards, sprinting towards the passage leading to the upper levels. We were already very close to the passage, as we could clearly see the shape of a green mountain not far away, surrounded by dense forests and a thick fog. Lan Xin knew the exact location of the passage, and I kept running after her. Ignoring the threat of the numerous pursuers behind us, we simply kept running. It wasn't exactly a way to conserve energy, but it was the only way. After a while, we were very close to the other side of the sea. The path along the shore was now clearly visible. We only needed to cross a short distance to reach the other side. But then, we reached the end of the road. "No way," Lan Xin couldn't help but say. We both stopped at the end. The other side of the sea was clearly visible ahead, but the path was gone. This was probably because Lan Xin, in order to reach the next level as quickly as possible, repeatedly deviated from the path and crossed the sea. We glanced at each other. The deep blue guards were already catching up behind us. They appeared in waves, and as we fled, we attracted many guards. Although the road was dead, I still had some flying ability, so at that distance, It was easy to carry Lanzin across. In that case, Lanzin, let's fly over there. I'm quite capable of flying, I said. Then I reached out to Lanzin, who nodded slightly and took my hand. Instantly, we took off together, soaring overhead, powered by the cyan red cloud. The guards were closing in at high speed, and I increased my speed. Be careful, don't fall, I warned. Lanzin nodded slightly, and we sped across the sea. In this state of flight, I was even faster than before, and the guards quickly distanced us. However, as we advanced, perhaps due to reaching a specific area, several deep blue guards suddenly emerged from the water around us, surging from the surface with a splash. Capture them, the deep blue guards in the rear telepathically communicated with those in front. Oh. Deploy all forces here, alright. Everyone, stand by along the shoreline to capture those thieves, the deep blue guards communicated with each other, all aware of our intention to reach the upper levels of the tower and blocking the passage before us, allowing us to be captured. The enemy's numbers, Lanzin said, looking ahead at the dazzling array of deep blue guards, countless in number. I see them too, Lanzin said, looking at the defensive line. They are indeed a staggering number. They may be the last guards lurking at the entrance to this sea area. The only thing left is to break through them. We need to break through them. It may be dangerous, but there's no other way, I said. Lanzin gave me a knowing look, and then a sword materialized in my hand. Instantly, we increased our speed, sprinting towards the human barrier of deep blue guards ahead. Don't even think about getting through, a deep blue shouted, and a wave of deep blue guards, all armed, swarmed towards us. I changed course to avoid the first one, but then I had to fight the guards who attacked me one after another, clashing with my sword and slashing through them with my superior strength. In the final stretch of seawater leading to the coastline, I exerted all my might, scattering as many attackers as possible. I carved a path, advancing at full speed, bypassing the guards, and forcing through those I couldn't. With some effort, we successfully crossed the protective wall above the sea and reached the coast. However, ahead of the coast, a large number of deep blue guards, each clad in deep blue armor, appeared even more powerful than the previous ones. The intersection isn't far from here, Lanzin said, looking ahead. We're almost there, let's try harder, I responded. Not far ahead, a passage in the mountains lay, likely the stairway leading to the next level. It was located midway up the densely wooded mountainside. However, before us, countless deep blue guards blocked the path. Don't even think about getting through, we're going through, I shouted to the deep blue guards ahead. Shut up and capture those two, the deep blue guards ahead spoke, and a group of them immediately flew down from the sky. It was clear that another battle was about to begin. We also knew there was no way to explain anything to them right now. Simply upholding mutual trust, the deep blue guards and we clashed once more. My sword now radiated a golden glow, a power incomparable to before. Facing the incoming enemies, I slashed with my sword. The power of my strikes was completely different, imbued with even more incredible energy. This was my heightened state, making it easier to disperse the guards. With a single sweep of golden light, I dismantled the 3 or 5 guards blocking our path. Finding the best opportunity, we advanced straight ahead, heading towards the entrance to the upper level. The guards blocking our path were scattered by my unstoppable slashing blows. Damn it, sighed the deep blue guard. The power of those two men, at their current speed, was probably beyond the deep blue guard's ability to stop. We rushed into the dim tunnel entrance, traversing the trees on either side and heading deeper into the passage. There were guards in groups ahead, but so far, they hadn't been able to do anything to us. With their combined strength, we continued along the path leading upwards. We flew along the passage for a while, and around a bend not far above, we gradually saw a bright light. That was the exit, and we all sensed it. We then passed the bend and burst out of the passage. Under the sunlit blue sky, we had indeed reached the stairs leading from the 6th floor to the 7th. Lands inside. Indeed, from the sea, we had arrived in another world of sky. Above, a massive building floated overhead, and transparent, floating glazed staircases could be seen all around. Up above was the 7th floor, and our goal was the top, the 9th. This means we can now bypass the 7th and 8th floors above and reach the 9th floor in one go. I thought as Lanzin and I paused on a glazed slab between the 6th and 7th floors. Lanzin, now. Let's go straight to the 9th floor. Isn't that our goal? I immediately said. Yes, The goal is the 9th floor. We just need to go there. If we can, it's best to do so, Lanzin responded quickly. Meanwhile, the deep blue guards, chasing us from behind, were already attacking us one after another. Above us, many deep blue guards were also waiting in the sky, surrounding the passage leading to the 7th floor. Let's go. I took Lanzin's hand, and the two of us took off, flying straight upwards, with the deep blue guards chasing us. Guards above, block their path, one of the deep blue guards said, making a decisive move. Upon hearing this, the guards above sprang into action, blocking the path to the 7th floor and stopping us. This was exactly what we wanted. Lanzin and I pressed forward together, our sonic surges and slashes scattering the guards above us, clearing a path. We skirted the massive floating structure above, advancing from the edge toward the higher levels. What? The guards, realizing our path, all understood, but it was too late. The guards who had been blocking the 7th floor passage caught up a moment later, followed closely by those behind. Above us, we were already soaring high, heading toward the higher levels of the tower. The guards' gazes fixed on us, gradually slowing, then slowly stopping in midair. Many of them did the same, one after another. Can't catch up, the guards tried their best, but fate seemed to have denied them the desired outcome. Instead, they sensed something. Forget it, we have done what we should do. Above that is the territory of the tower owner and the guardian. Maybe they really have some hidden secrets, but that is no longer within our control. Let's stop here and withdraw our troops. After the guards talked to each other, they each returned to the area they were responsible for guarding. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 96 9th Floor. We passed the 6th floor of the tower and reached the edge of the 7th. We soared straight up along the massive rock face outside the 7th floor, and soon passed the 7th floor. We reached a gap between the 7th and 8th floors, where we could now see the glazed stairs leading to the 8th. A quick glance revealed that the guards chasing us were no longer visible. I don't know what happened, but this was good news. The girl and I paused briefly on the glazed stairs in the gap before soaring back up again. This time, we'd reached the 9th floor directly, completing the entire distance in one go. There's one last step left, let's go, I said. Lanzin nodded. We headed towards the stairs leading to the 9th floor. Unobstructed by guards, and with a special barrier Lan Ying had cast to prevent outsiders from observing us, the master would likely be unable to see us. With this perfect opportunity, we rushed through the 8th floor in one go, reaching the final staircase leading to the 9th floor. It was still a series of crystal-clear floating glass staircases. We stopped flying and instead ascended, step by step. It was no different from before, except that the surroundings were now utterly silent. There were no guards or other enemies to interfere. We continued along the floating plates until we reached the top staircase. Before the intersection leading to the 9th floor, I saw a glowing path ahead. To reach the 9th floor, we'd probably have to go through this path. Lanzin and I exchanged glances, then stepped through the illuminated path. We entered, following the path of light, and arrived at a massive building. This must be the 9th floor, the top floor of this massive iron tower. Inside, we were surrounded by vast rooms. Following the path of light, we seemed to have entered the interior of this enormous structure. This 9th floor might be a massive building. Huge windows surrounded it, and a vast red carpet stretched out in front of us. The carpet stretched so long that it seemed impossible to see the entire length. The surroundings were lined with various decorations. Huge portraits and weapons graced the walls. Nearby, numerous knights in silver armor lined the grounds, seemingly just for decoration, as I couldn't sense any presence within. It truly resembled an ancient European castle. We followed a red-carpeted path ahead, advancing steadily. Lanzin, do you know where we're going next? I asked. Go forward. Deep in there, right ahead, there's the presence of someone. There's a familiar presence there, too, Lanzin replied. We continued walking, not aimlessly, but firmly towards our destination. After a while, I reached the end of the red-carpeted path. Ahead stood a door, a massive stone gate. We pushed it, believing we had to pass through it to continue. The door felt heavy upon contact, and just as we were about to decide what to do, it swung open on its own. Amidst a heavy, creaking sound, the stone gate swung open. Ahead lay a vast grassland, and we emerged from the gate one after another. Entering the outside world, I looked out upon a vast expanse of sky, the sun shining brightly, and the weather was incredibly clear. Looking back, I saw the place we had exited earlier. The massive structure, indeed a castle, was clearly visible from the outside. Surrounding it were several more castles, and a road ahead led to them. Lush trees grew on both sides of the road, along with a few small houses. Wooden fences lined the road, and we continued along it. After turning a corner, we were already very close to the second castle. I asked, Lanzin, which direction did you sense that presence? Lanzin paused, and we both stood not far from the second castle. It was originally ahead, but when we emerged from the castle, we lost the sense of where it was. Each of those castles seems to have a distinct scent. I'm not sure which one we should go to next, Lanzin said. Let's start with the closest one and keep going until we find it, I suggested. Immediately, we headed towards the second castle nearby. When we reached the door, it opened automatically, and we stepped inside. The scene inside was remarkably similar to the castle we had entered previously. We immediately headed towards the red carpet path. The interior was remarkably similar, not only in the castle's structure but also in the placement of the decorative items. It made one wonder if they'd been here before. Can we find that person now? I asked the girl beside me. Yes, ahead, Lanzin replied. The ahead she was referring to was the path leading to the red carpet. We continued along the red carpet path again. Ahead was a door, a similar scene we had encountered before. Should we go through there? I asked again. Lanzin nodded, and we continued forward. When we reached the door, it opened automatically. We walked out. Outside was a meadow, a scene similar to the one we saw when we left the castle. This time, however, we must have emerged from the second castle. The air was pleasant, the sun shining brightly as usual. After we emerged, we continued along the path outside the castle. We had already passed 2 castles, and there were several more ahead. Lanzin, what's going on now? I can't sense it again, really? Perhaps it's because we're connected to something inside the castle, and leaving the castle means we're outside, I replied. Yes, Lanzin agreed. We continued forward. The master and the others might be inside one of these castles. If the 2 ahead weren't there, we could head for the castle further ahead. Without hesitation, we continued forward. Continuing along the path, we soon reached the third castle, the one closer to us. We had to go inside the castle, that was the option we had. There was no other way to find him. The owner might be in one of these castles. All we had to do was find him. So we continued towards the third castle. Arriving at the castle, the gate opened again. Without a word, we entered. Inside, we saw a similar scene as before. As we stepped into the bag, the gate at the back closed. We continued along the red carpet path. Now, I feel it again. That's what's going on, right? I said, and Lanzin nodded in agreement. By the third time we entered the castle, we had a rough idea. This castle wasn't an ordinary house, it was a special place. From a different perspective, it was something beyond the realm of science, a special dimension or barrier. Perhaps the spaces within the castles were connected. Therefore, further progress might be difficult. If it's a barrier, I can't do anything about it. I'm afraid in this special space, the barrier probably covers the entire tower, so there's nothing we can do inside it. This time, let's not follow the direction of that aura and search the castle, I said. That's right. Coming here is very similar to the last few times. Maybe we can find something in the castle, Lanzin responded. The castle has multiple rooms, corners, and floors. As we talked, we changed our direction and headed towards the center of the castle. Chapter 97 Castle. Seeking the location of our master, we began to explore the castle's other rooms. We passed a winding passageway and arrived at a long corridor with numerous rooms on either side. We tried opening a door or two, but there was no sign of any other human or living being inside. After several attempts, we decided to proceed through the corridor. At its end, a path curved to the right. We continued along this path and, after turning the corner, saw a palace ahead. It was adorned with a wealth of shimmering, translucent gems, glazed tiles, and other magnificent ornaments. There were carved marble columns, glazed floors, and a seat at the end of the red carpet leading to the entrance. It seemed like the seat of the highest class. We approached and observed that knights in silver-white armor stood in neat rows on both sides of the path. There was no sign of human presence, they were simply displays of objects. Atop the seats sat a small figure. A closer look revealed it was a puppet, with seams on its body, withered wood-colored skin, withered hair, and a slightly gaunt face. It was likely a female puppet, slumped over the seat with her head slightly lowered. "What's that puppet?" We all walked over to the seat, observing the long-haired puppet. Its strange sitting posture made it stand out against a backdrop of the palace. "Maybe some kind of mechanism," Xingze said, reaching out to touch the puppet. The moment her finger touched it, the silver-armored knights around us suddenly reacted, gradually starting up like engines, locking onto the two of us in front of the seat and advancing. We stared at the silver knights, who were simply approaching us, their weapons poised for combat. As Xingze had said, it might indeed be a mechanism, but she activated it. A moment later, a swarm of knights descended upon us, surrounding us and advancing with spears in hand. "What? Are these guys controlled too?" I said. Instantly, knights charged at us, lances in hand. I conjured a black sword and engaged the knight in front of me. Sword and lance clashed, a simple clash. Gaining the upper hand, I instantly repelled the knight's lance and the knight's spear, forcing both of them back several steps, spears in hand. "Our goal is to find the master. We shouldn't stay here too long. Let's leave," Xingze said. I nodded in agreement, instantly slashing through the knights and advancing. Forcing our way through the knights, since there were these controlled knights, the master must be controlling them somewhere on this floor. We retraced our steps, heading towards the entrance. We reached a gate and escaped through it. We arrived at a grassland, the same scene we had seen before. It seemed we had escaped from the castle again. Looking back, the knights who had been chasing us had stopped pursuing us. We now stood dazed on the grassland. The sun was setting, and the sky was a faint yellow. "Is it almost evening?" I asked. Time seemed to be passing too quickly. "Something's going on here is a little unusual. If we don't find the owner quickly, it could be very troublesome," Xingze replied. "Then hurry up and head to the next castle," I said. We stopped discussing and headed towards the next castle. There seemed to be 6 castles on this grassland, arranged in a crescent shape. The biggest clue now was the presence of the owner, which we could sense inside the castles. Several castles might be the same space, and the owner was inside one of them. The castles were connected, allowing us to reach them from the outside. From that perspective, finding them meant visiting all of them, which seemed to be a relatively simple process. On the other hand, if this was the other party's prediction, what should we do? Indeed, we sensed the presence within the castle. We entered several different castles, and the conditions inside were largely the same. To confirm further, I then entered the next 3 castles. We confirmed that the puppet reappeared in the castle's palaces. Approaching or touching it triggered special events, such as the Silver Knight being activated, traps collapsing, and other unfortunate events. The puppet seemed cursed, and touching it brought disaster upon us. The only difference was the color of the puppet, which changed each time we saw it, red, green, yellow, and so on. After passing 7 castles, we arrived at the grasslands. The sky was already dark, and night had fallen. Time passed incredibly quickly here. When we came here before, the sun was still high in the sky, but now it's the moon, I said. Something is wrong here, probably related to the castles we entered and exited, Xingze said. There are castles ahead that we haven't been to, about 5 more, 12. Like a clock. Clock? Really? The castles are like clocks going around in a big circle, I said. In that case, there should be a total of 24 daytime and nighttime, Xingze said. 24, does the number you mentioned mean there are so many castles here? I said, a little confused. Yes, I can roughly see that even if we walk through all 24 castles now, I may not find that person. Then what should we do? I asked Xingze. The key is that the owner of the palace and the castle is probably hiding outside the 24 castles, in the gaps in space. Coming here again is probably the last chance. Let's go to the palace again and take a look, Xingze said. Really? I understand. Now it's up to you to decide. Hearing this, Xingze nodded, and we started to head towards the next castle. Continuing on, we soon entered the 7th castle. As before, we entered smoothly. Next, our goal was the palace within the castle. We already knew the direction from previous experience, so we took the shortest route to the palace. Turning a corner, we arrived at the palace gate. There, still a shimmering jeweled palace, sat a small figure on a seat at the end. I'd seen this doll several times before, but unlike before, this one had blue hair and clothing. The doll sat reclining on a throne that seemed too large for her. The color of that doll seems to change every time, I said. Let's take it away, Xingze said. It wasn't an interesting suggestion. Taking it away would be like touching it, and based on previous experience, we were certain of the consequences. Let's give it a try, but there was no other way. We arrived in front of the doll. Xingze reached out and touched it, this time lifting it up in one go. At that moment, the doll's eyes flickered. At the same time, numerous unknown openings appeared around the castle. They were traps. I understood instantly. A volley of long arrows erupted from the openings, attacking from all directions. I harnessed the power of my primordial spirit to radiate a green light, forming a barrier that blocked the incoming blades. Let's go. It's unsafe here, I said, and Xingze quickly left for the castle. Once we were safely outside, I asked Xingze, how is it going? Any results? Yes, I know where the master is. Where? I asked. Xingze pointed to an empty area not far from the grassland. The girl before me, however, expressed her conviction. Chapter 98 Battle. Exiting the castle's back door, we found ourselves once again on the meadow, now dark. It was 10 o'clock at night. A clock hung on a tower not far away. We continued on our way, following Xingze's lead. Seeing the doll in Xingze's hand, I asked, what's the use of carrying this doll? It can lead us to our final destination. Why? I asked. The doll has an unusual aura, very similar to the one I sense, so just take it with you, Xingze said. We continued on our way, this time heading in a different direction from before, into the woods instead of the usual path. As we passed through the dense forest, we could sense a hazy mist surrounding us, resembling a place deep in the mountains. We walked for a distance before catching sight of a castle not far ahead. It was different from the previous one, much smaller in structure and more ancient in appearance. We were heading towards it. The place this puppet leads us to is right there. This time, I'm sure it's right, Xingze said. Really? That castle is truly very different. The castle looked eerie, unlike anything we'd seen before. There must be something beyond. Passing through the jungle island, we followed a path in front of the castle until we reached its main entrance. It was a wide, brown wooden door, and we pushed it open. It wasn't closed, but half open. We walked inside. The room was carpeted with red, a somewhat worn-looking carpet. Continuing forward, we walked along the red carpet. The puppet in Xingze's hand glowed. Something was approaching. Or perhaps we were approaching something. We passed another door ahead and entered the room beyond. The palace itself was similar to the ones we'd seen before, shimmering and translucent. Even though the other rooms were unremarkable, this one was still vibrant and colorful. At the end stood two crosses, bound to two figures. One was a middle-aged man in a robe with long, thick hair, and the other was a bound doll. Dressed in red with red hair and blonde hair, it looked like a beautiful doll. Between the two crosses, there was a chair, and on it sat a man. He had dark blue skin and a rather large build, and the enormous chair was just enough for him. He rested one hand on the backrest, looking at us unresponsively. You are, I said. I am the master, the other replied. Then the man stood up, looked at us, and continued, there are 24 castles on this floor. It's a credit to you that you found this place. If this is a game, then you've reached the end, but time is running out. You'll be finished at midnight. What do you mean? The water will flood this place, and of course you will be too, the man called Master said. A mere water can drown us, really? Just water? No, it's not just water. You underestimate the power of the ocean, the man with deep blue skin spoke, his palms glowing. From nowhere, a torrent of water emerged, rushing in from every entrance of the room, quickly covering our feet. And the water didn't stop, pouring in continuously, starting from our legs, quickly passing over our knees, then over our thighs, until half our bodies were covered in water. Where does this water come from? I couldn't help but ask. The power of water? Needless to say, it's the power of my master. The sapphire bead in the master's hand shone, evidently unleashing some kind of power to cause the water to flow in. So what? I'll tell you clearly now, leave this world, or restore everything to its original state, I said. Hearing this, the master smiled and said, though we've reached the end, you can't defeat me. Let me show you the power of water. As he finished speaking, the water formed a vortex that drew us in. With its powerful pull, we were drawn in, but I leaped out and hovered above. A portion of the water, transformed into a hemp rope of water, rose and pulled me down. A green light instantly emanated from me, separating the rope from its restraints, and I once again hovered above the surface. It seems I won't let this place recover until I defeat you. So prepare yourself. What are you talking about? You think you can defeat me? You're right, I replied. The master grinned again, and I, without a word, rushed forward, directly towards him. HMPH, Iron Tower Guardian positive. At that moment, a monster emerged from a nearby black pillar. It was massive, its body covered in chunks of tough flesh. It was a black steel giant, the Iron Tower Guardian. The monster came crashing down, blocking my path and colliding with me. Under the impact, we both retreated a distance, staring at each other. You are Iron Tower Guardian positive, it replied. It's one of my subordinates. Before you use force against me, you'd better defeat it first, the master sneered. Well, those who stand in my way must be defeated. I immediately extended my hands and clasped them together. A cyan light shone from the center of my palms, and with a net glow, a cyan-orange humanoid emerged. It swiftly charged towards the Iron Tower Guardian, striking with its fist. A deep sound echoed, the sound of steel striking steel, as the cyan-orange figure's fist connected with the Iron Tower Guardian's palm. I heard an attack. It looked like the opponent was no ordinary force. Even KO, who could easily knock down a mecha, was able to block it with one hand. But the next moment, the cyan-orange figure grabbed its arm and flung it out, sending it careening into the nearby wall. The Tower Guardian let out a low hum, its body radiating a faint, dim light. The surrounding rock fragments levitated, splitting into countless pieces, some large and some small, each forming a cone-shaped shape with a sharp tip. Suddenly, a volley of rocks descended upon us, raining down arrows. KO and I both radiated cyan light, transforming into a barrier to block the onslaught of rubble. Can you control stone? I asked. It's more than that, the master said with a smile. The Tower Guardian slowly flew out from the wall and landed on the water's surface. Upon closer inspection, I saw it riding the current, like surfing, as it surged towards me again. The Tower Guardian surged forward on the waves. As the massive wave crushed us, my cyan-orange figure opened its shield to resist the onslaught. We each looked at the Tower Guardian before us. It extended a hand, drawing a vast amount of water into its hand like a spiral. Its palm became the center of the vortex, gathering a vast amount of water within it and radiating outward, forming a column of water that rushed towards us. It moved at great speed, and we each pushed against it, but the pressure was so intense that we retreated a distance. This guy has two tricks, KO said to me. You're right, but it's okay. Right, that's right. With that, the cyan-orange figure, treading the water, charged forward like a torpedo, instantly colliding with the Tower Guardian again. The collision of forces was followed by a trembling sound, and one side fell below it. It was the Tower Guardian that fell, but it didn't fade after landing in the water. Immediately, he stepped onto the water, splashing profusely as he emerged from the current. As the waves rose, the figure reappeared before us. It was the Iron Tower Guardian, clad in spiked armor, in a new form. Round 2, he said, and the opponent attacked again. Chapter 99 Battle. The Iron Tower Guardian, its spiked body, charged forward, colliding with my orange-green humanoid. With a resounding clang, the blow was effective, a powerful one. The sharp spikes didn't penetrate KO's body, but the impact was even more potent than before. My skin stung. After the collision, the orange-green humanoid retaliated with a punch. Energy clung to its fist, shrouded in a shimmering green light, and it delivered an explosive blow. It wasn't large, but as it drew near, the Iron Tower Guardian could sense its immense size. It was the aura that enveloped it. With a resounding resound, the Iron Tower Guardian's spiked armor shattered. A large section of the spikes broke, and cracks appeared on its steel body. It was slammed into a nearby stone pillar, lodged deep within. Meanwhile, on the other side of the flooded palace, a young girl, Xingze, quietly emerged from the water to a chair near the palace, about to rescue the man bound to the cross. A master with deep blue skin blocked the girl's path. Want to seize this opportunity to rescue the bound man? No, I'm here, the master said. Then I'll knock you down first, Xingze spoke, and the master chuckled. Little girl, if you act wild here, you might end up stranded. But if you want to play, I'll play with you. As he spoke, The blue bead in the master's hand glowed again with a strange brilliance. Humanoid figures emerged from the surrounding water, gradually transforming into water guardians, remarkably similar to the deep blue guardian seen earlier. The guards appeared around the girl, closing in on her, intent on knocking her down. Xingze had no choice but to fight back, as the guards blocked her path. Wandering through those 24 castles would have been a quick end, but you found a way to get in here. You're truly amazing, weren't you? The master said, gazing at Xingze, who was not far away. They were able to enter thanks to the puppet Xingze held. The puppet guided them in, like a key. In reality, entering each of the 24 castles would take an hour. Because of the barrier, entering twice more would likely be too late. While they were talking, Xingze effectively used her water skills to defeat several guards. The water itself was their advantage, but for Xingze, it was no different. I came here to rescue that man, Xingze said, gazing at the man bound to a cross not far away. The master responded, he's an envoy from Dragon Palace City. Are you from there too? That's our master. Put him down, I can't help it. He broke in without permission, so he must be punished. You stole the orb, and that's why master came here. The root of the problem is you. Put it all down, or else. I won't agree to such a willful request, the master said. He still held the deep blue orb in his hand, dangling it before the girl like bait. Xingze, slightly displeased by this, leaped forward and reached for the orb held by the master. Suddenly, a barrier of water, illuminated by the orb's radiance, erected before the master, blocking Xingze's path and trapping her underwater. What's wrong? The master watched silently as Xingze's body began to glow. Subtly, her hands and feet underwent a subtle transformation, becoming covered in blue crystals, appearing even more brilliant. In that instant, Xingze burst through the water barrier and advanced on the master, reaching out to snatch the deep sea orb from his grasp. A swift blow was dodged by the master. Then, she spun and kicked, but the master dodged it with a backward step. She attacked with a series of kicks, and after several blows, the opponent blocked one with her deep blue arm. Both retreated. Not bad for a little girl, but look around you, the master said. Now, several more water-made guards had appeared around Xingze. Xingze understood, but she didn't glance around, her bright eyes fixed on the present. The guards all advanced on Xingze, and the master knew all too well. He knew the girl before him had clearly noticed him, but she remained unmoved, her body and hair radiating a faint blue glow, as did her body. Suddenly, a tremendous amount of energy, a roaring sound, erupted from her mouth, forming a storm. She had taken a deep breath a moment before, and now it blossomed. A violent sonic storm spread out, accompanied by a surge of blue energy, creating a small whirlwind around them. The approaching guards were scattered by this force, and the master was also thrown back a distance, collapsing on the cross behind him before finally coming to rest. What's that sound? It's unbearable, the master said with a frown. Meanwhile, on the other side of the castle, the Iron Tower Guardian was floating in the water, its body in tatters. In the previous duel, the Iron Tower Guardian was defeated, unable to defeat my powerful partner. I also headed towards the master. Has that been taken out? Almost. It's time to show us your power, master. Unleash the power you possess to control this orb world. My power? As you can see, it's being displayed. Look over there. Were you too impatient? The Iron Tower Guardian is not so easy to deal with. As the master spoke, we looked to the side and saw the Iron Tower Guardian's body glowing, as if healed by some power, its tattered form rapidly repairing itself. The orb in its master's hand gleamed with light. The deep blue orb glowed, and the nearby Tower Guardian also shone with light. It suddenly leaped from the water and hovered in midair. Assemble, the Tower Guardian called out, but it wasn't addressed to anyone within the castle. Amidst the radiant light, the voice reached another monster at the other end of the tower, guarding the 5 floors below. The monster, sensing the voice calling from above, understood the situation. Before then, the monster had already pursued upwards, though another small figure, accompanying it, continued to haunt it. I could definitely sense something approaching below. The Tower Guardian, having lost its combat power moments before, now seemed almost restored to its original state. At that moment, a slow vibration echoed from a black iron pillar supporting the tower not far away. Like water welling up from within, something was about to emerge. The pillar continued to rumble, and suddenly, a massive figure emerged from it, bursting through the pillar in front of me. A hole was punched through the iron pillar, and amidst the surrounding debris, another Iron Tower Guardian appeared. Iron Tower Guardian front, Iron Tower Guardian back, all present, the Master said. Master, the Iron Tower Guardian glanced over at the Master. Now is the time to unite as one. Merge, the Master said. The two Iron Tower Guardians, one with a cone-shaped head, the other with a diamond-shaped head, black and gray, nodded. They leaped up one after another, instantly drawn together like magnets, forming a spiral and intertwining. A chaotic light emanated from their bodies, and in the blink of an eye, they transformed under the flashing light. They became one, but instead of growing larger, they shrank considerably. The figure before them was a perfectly muscular man with a seemingly agile appearance. He wore a black, silver, and white coat, clutched a trident, and wore a shark-shaped helmet. Fight, the Master said. Understood, Lanzin and I both noticed that figure now. Perhaps after the transformation, it couldn't be understood simply by the simple formula of 1 + 1 = 2. As soon as the words fell, the Tower Guardian charged at me, his speed completely different from before. Like lightning, he was in front of me. In an instant, my sword clashed with his trident. For a moment, his momentum overwhelmed me, forcing me backward. He had indeed grown stronger. With a single blow, I retreated. The monster, no match for me before, now stood before the girl, fighting another. What are you hesitating about? The Master said. The deep blue man before us, his figure in a black coat, was now right before our eyes. What to do was worth considering. I'm going to deal with you, really? What about our companions? You might all be defeated, we'll talk about it later. Sorry, I missed a chapter earlier. Chapter 100 The Latecomer. Within the black iron pillars supporting the castle, a passage had been punched through by the Tower Guardians. Now, another girl, Lan Ying, was observing the castle's interior from within the pillar. Transformation, she had witnessed what had happened moments earlier. Why was this girl here? It had to do with the events of the recent past. Not long ago, during Lan Ying's duel with the Tower Guardians, the people imprisoned in the dungeon attempted to escape, and it seemed Lan Ying's connection with the Tower Guardians was still ongoing. A second battle ensued, with the Tower Guardians possessing multiple attacks, and Lan Ying fought them all the way. After a while, the people had vanished, but the duel continued. Now, it seemed time to head towards Lanzin and the other person. She was considering how to reach them and escape the person before her. Suddenly, a commotion erupted from above, and this wasn't the first time. The sounds of battle seemed to emanate from the very top, high above. Something seemed to be happening up there. At the sound, the Tower Guardian paused, sensing a call from above, and glanced upwards. Then, he said, I can't let you continue now. I need to go up there. With that, the Tower Guardian, ignoring the girl before him, began to move in another direction. For Lan Ying, it had no intention of continuing the fight, so it was certainly a good idea to disappear. However, its claim of going up there was most likely related to those two people. Letting it go up there would likely cause them trouble. Alternatively, since it was headed upwards, for someone who didn't know the way, it could easily allow them to reunite with the two men. Wait, you said you were going up there. Would that be the very top floor? There's no need to tell you that, the Tower Guardian said, and without looking back, he headed off in another direction. At that moment, Lan Ying suddenly appeared before the Tower Guardian. Her speed was incomprehensible, almost elusive. She had used similar tactics before. The Tower Guardian couldn't comprehend such a thing. Then please allow me to continue exchanging blows with you, Lan Ying said. As I said, I don't have time for another, the Tower Guardian said, ignoring the girl before him and continuing forward, about to pass her. That's all right, Lan Ying thought. Then, following her, the Tower Guardian headed upward. The Tower Guardian ignored the person who followed, continuing at full speed. No matter who the girl was or what tactics she might use, it didn't matter, the Tower Guardian simply had to complete his task. Lan Ying was confident she could outrun the girl, so she followed openly. The Tower Guardian advanced, and so did the girl. The Tower Guardian advanced at breakneck speed toward his destination, and the girl followed him at breakneck speed. The Tower Guardian didn't hesitate, simply advancing swiftly, but he couldn't shake off the girl behind him. The path the Tower Guardian was walking on began to rapidly change, collapsing into obstacles. The rubble took various forms, blocking the girl's path. This was the Tower Guardian's ability to control the tower's interior. Presumably trying to shake off the obstacle, he made no move, continuing forward at undiminished speed. It wouldn't be that easy, Lan Ying realized, and she had no choice but to try her best to overcome the obstacles. The two chased each other, and before they knew it, the Tower Guardian arrived at their destination, a massive black iron pillar. That massive pillar served as a special passageway connecting every floor of the tower. Simply entering the space within the pillar and ascending would allow them to quickly reach their desired floor. For the Tower Guardian, it was like an elevator, though not everyone could use it. Despite the girl chasing after him, the Tower Guardian ignored her and walked toward the iron pillar. He stretched out his arm, and the pillar split open, forming a door. He passed through the door and emerged into the interior. Lan Ying followed suit. It was probably a shortcut. Entering the iron pillar, Lan Ying was greeted by a vast expanse. The iron pillar was already enormous, but the interior offered a different experience. The space within was large enough to accommodate 4 Tower Guardians. Instantly, the Tower Guardian soared upward. Lan Ying, sensing this was the path to the upper reaches, grabbed a corner of the Tower Guardian's body and ascended with him. The space here rises. Really, if space rises, the Tower Guardian's power would have to create some space within the iron pillar to reach it. This wasn't a difficult task for the Tower Guardian. As they ascended, a path opened above, perfect for the Tower Guardians. Lan Ying, on the other hand, had to meet those following them, a far more arduous test. But she didn't anticipate failure. While the Tower Guardian simply pressed forward, she had to strive even harder, facing numerous challenges. They were merely ascending, while she faced numerous environmental factors, including the surrounding material and air resistance. Ultimately, both successfully reached the top floor, following the iron pillars. However, when the Tower Guardians arrived, they had left the girl behind them some distance behind. This seemingly insignificant event was enough for Lan Ying to reach the top floor. After a moment's observation, she appeared before everyone. The dust on her body, obscured by the radiant light, made her inconspicuous. The masked figure quietly approached us. Numerous parts of her body shone faintly, her blue hair and limbs radiating a unique glow. And the mask itself, a mysterious presence within the scene. "Are you Lan Ying?" I asked, seeing the masked girl appear nearby. "It's me," the girl turned back to me. "What's this outfit?" I asked. "It's for battle," Lan Ying said. Then, she turned her gaze to the latest form of the Iron Tower Guardian before us. "I see. It's 2 Iron Tower Guardians combined into one," Lan Ying said. "Really?" I asked. Not far from the Iron Tower Guardian, near the throne, stood 2 figures, Lan Xin and the Iron Tower Master. Beyond them, the Master, bound to a cross, and a puppet, also bound to a cross, silently watched their masters from within the water-soaked castle. As if receiving a command, the new combined Iron Tower Guardian advanced towards us. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.